Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Let you dig treasure, you dug out the tomb of the emperor. Chapter 61. Lu Yuan squatted down, pushed away the soil on the side, took out the dull golden touch talisman, and glanced at Xiao Lu next to him. 666. Look at you and see how excited you are. Lu Yuan blew off the soil above and said, "It's almost ready to be hammered. This mountain has indeed been visited by tomb robbers. Look at this." "What is this?" "A tiger tooth pendant. This thing is so small, how do you associate it with Hoya? Should it be dogtooth?" 5. None of them guessed correctly. Lu Yuan said, "This is the claws and gold of the pangolin. This thing has a very high scientific name in the tomb robbery line, touching the golden talisman. I've heard it, it's been on TV." I said, "Why so familiar?" "Old Lu, listen to me, stop digging, you can't control this thing. There are definitely corpses below, so hurry up and look for the ancient tomb. It turns out that tomb robbers in reality will really bring these things. Speaking of which, is it possible that this is the tomb of the tomb robber? These are the funeral objects. I have to say, your brain is so big that it leaves me speechless. Old Lu, come to a wave of welfare, touch the golden talisman to draw a lottery." Lu Yuan smiled and said, "Okay, when I finish digging this mountain, I'll sort out some things and give everyone welfare. Last time I said that I was going to draw a lottery, but I was so busy that I forgot. This golden charm is not cheap, but to Lu Yuan, this small amount of money is nothing, and a wave of benefits will be given to the old fans, and everyone will be happy. Finish this mountain. Did I hear it right? This mountain, you want to dig to the year of the monkey and the horse moon." Old Lu's progress is still very fast. He has walked more than 10 kilometers in just 2 days. If he crosses it, he can dig it in half a month at most. You also said that it is a crossing, and the key mountain is not a line, but a piece. Hurry up, free benefits are still provoked. Is this golden touch at least a few thousand bigger? 140. More than that, the price of this thing in the industry is at least 30,000 yuan, and the price of the tomb is even more expensive. Lu Yuan put away the golden charm and waved his hoe to continue digging. "Ah, ding, you dug up copper coins." Copper coin. Name, Xuan Tongbao. Attributes, antiquities of the Ming dynasty. Value, 1,000 yuan. Lu Yuan squatted down, moved the soil, and picked up a copper green coin about the size of a coin. "Is this a copper coin? I'm going, how come there are copper coins here? What about the corpse?" Everyone was puzzled. Shouldn't they have dug up the body? Lu Yuan blew the dirt off the coins, but there were still tiny bits of dirt inlaid between the fonts. "This is the coin of the Xuan period. Luo." Lu Yuan looked at his feet and said, "The ancient tomb visited by the tomb robbers is probably here." He suddenly became motivated, and after collecting the coins, he dug hard. "Where is the tomb? I can't explain it. If there is an ancient tomb underneath, why is Luoyang's shovel buried underneath? Old Lu, how much can this copper coin be sold for?" While digging, Lu Yuan said, "Copper coins are worthless. Xuan Tongbao has been minted in a large amount, more than 100 million pieces. This piece is in good condition, and it will only cost $1,000 if you die. From the point of view of copper coins, if there are tombs, they belong to the Ming dynasty, or at least the ancient tombs before Jiajing. Can you see that, Xuan Tongbao? Shouldn't it be an ancient tomb during the Xuan period? What happened to Guan Jiajing? How can the copper coins be on the surface? Shouldn't it be in the tomb?" Lu Yuan said, "This has to explain the history of coinage in the dynasty. There were 17 years in the Ming dynasty, and not every emperor minted coins. After Xuan, Orthodox, Jingtai, Tianshan, Chenghua, Hongji, and Zheng did not mint coins in the past few years, and they used coins minted during Xuan years, or silver and banknotes. Isn't it? I've seen Orthodox Tongbao. I have seen Chenghua Tongbao. How could it not be coined? Orthodox, Chenghua, Tianshan, Jingtai's copper coins are all available in the market, and I have seen the museum. Are you confused, Lao Lu?" Lu Yuan said, "Yes, but it does not conflict with what I said. After Xuan until the Jiajing period, no coins were minted. The copper coins in these years were made up during the Jiajing period. The stock is even rarer, so if you see the copper coins of these years in the market, they are basically sky-high prices." Quote? Recasting. What kind of fairy operation is this? What's wrong with Jiajing, to make up for the copper coins of the previous dynasty? I just said that Mao was from the Ming dynasty, and there was such a big difference in the price of copper coins between the year and the year. Old Lu is right, it is indeed the case. Old Lu knows so much for Mao. Students, don't try to understand Shuiba. If you can understand you, you're a Shuiba. Clang. You dug up the corpse. Body. Value, 25,000. Lu Yuan's hand holding the hoe paused slightly, his expression quite calm. He was already mentally prepared and did not panic at all. Sure enough, there are corpses, it looks like they are really tomb robbers. Luoyang's shovel, touch the golden talisman, copper coins are on the surface. These seemingly fragmented and unrelated information were constantly integrated and analyzed in Lu Yuan's mind, trying to connect them together. But at present there are too few clues to analyze anything. He intensified his efforts, and a dirt hole was quickly dug out. The first thing that catches the eye is a foot, black sneakers, jeans that have changed color. The outside of the trouser leg was compacted by the sand, and the inside of the trouser leg was empty. I am afraid that only bones were left. Legs. No, corpses. I said there was a corpse, and I said it. These shoes, these jeans, look like modern people. It seems that no one can see it. Old Lu finally moved towards the corpse. A horrifying batch of corpses dug up in barren mountains. Old Lu's expression is so calm, aren't you afraid? Seeing the corpse, netizens were a mess with excitement. Yingtian, Zhang Chao saw this scene and secretly rejoiced. Fortunately, I didn't follow it, otherwise it would be my luck, and I am afraid that the one who dug up the body was me. I'm such a witty bunch. Zhang Chao smiled slightly and praised his IQ. 20 minutes later, a complete male body was dug up by Lu Yuan. The corpse was about 1.7 meters tall, the whole body was intact, and the clothes on his body were rotting and discolored in many places. There is only one skeleton left on the whole body, and it can be seen that he has been dead for a long time. Lu Yuan squatted on the side, used a wild knife to remove the corpse's clothes, observed it carefully, and was fascinated by it. Back, back, back. Old Lu, stay away, this thing is so disgusting. Is this a tomb robber? Definitely yes, a normal person who climbs the mountain with a Luoyang shovel. Why is Lao Lu still staring at it? What kind of unique hobby is this? Lu Yuan looked at it for a while and said, this body has been dead for no more than half a year. Holding the grass, how can you even see this? Brother, did you study medicine at university? Lu Yuan pointed at the corpse's shoulder blade with a knife. In about 3 months, the flesh on the corpse will completely rot away and disappear, but there will still be some residues. Look, there are still traces of the bones here, which shows that this corpse as the time of death is more than 3 months, but not more than half a year. That's right, there's a big gold chain around my neck, and my little finger is thick, it's estimated to be 20,000 to 30,000 yuan. The corpse was hooked out of the pit with a hoe and placed at a distance, without the gold chain. The things of the ancients don't matter, he is not interested in the things of the dead. Lu Yuan walked back and said, continue digging, we can't delay business because of the corpse. It's so outrageous. This is a professional treasure digger, what is a corpse? Even a zombie can't stop the treasure digger's hoe. Don't Lao Lu call the police. Report a fart, it doesn't matter if you report it again after digging. It's useless to report, there is no ID in the wallet, who knows who this is? Don't you want any gold chains? What a thick gold chain, waste. Lu Yuan continued to dig, call the police or something, and talk about it later. It's already 3 o'clock in the afternoon. At this time, the police call the police, so why don't the police arrive until the middle of the night? If you call the police later, the police can wait until tomorrow to come back. If you cannot cause trouble to others, do not add. Ah, ding, you dug up copper coins. Copper coin. Name, Xuan Tongbao. Attributes, antiquities of the Ming dynasty. Value, 1,000 yuan. Pick up the copper coins, pack them, and continue digging. Crack. The hoe felt brittle and cracked, and when the dirt was removed, Lu Yuan picked up a piece of broken porcelain. Porcelain shards are attached to a layer of soil, but the blue pattern on it can still be seen at a glance. There was no reminder in the system, obviously this kind of remnant was worthless. Have you dug up an antique? Is this a fragment of a china bowl? No surprise, it should be blue and white porcelain. Lu Yuan nodded. It is indeed blue and white porcelain, but it is not a bowl, but a fragment of medium and large porcelain. He frowned at his feet. There is an ancient tomb below, he is basically sure. Porcelain can be buried in the ancient tomb, indicating that the owner of the tomb is also a merchant at least. Ordinary people can't touch blue and white porcelain of this size, and it is a pile of bowls to die. But the question is, why did the blue and white porcelain that should have appeared in the tomb appear on the surface? He has dug up to now, but it is only more than 1 meter deep. The ancient tomb can be at least 3 or 5 meters deep, and even if it is close to the main body of the ancient tomb, it should be the outer wall. This porcelain was probably brought by tomb robbers. He suddenly stopped digging, threw the debris on the ground, and walked forward. After walking a few hundred meters away, standing in the open area bordering the woods, I turned around and looked above the treasure point. Looking at it, his eyes fell on the hillside next to the treasure point, showing a sudden realization, so it is. What is Lao Lu doing? So what? Don't play dumb riddles, Lao Lu is talking. Lu Yuan walked back with a smile and said, I probably know the condition of this corpse. Like those animal carcasses dug up before, this tomb robber may have suffered a landslide and was buried below. And below this, there is a high probability that there is an ancient tomb. The tomb thief went down to rob the tomb, and when he was about to leave with the baby, he was buried by the landslide. It's easy to explain why there are dead bodies, loyang shovels, copper coins and pieces of porcelain in this place. It's not that the spoils are unevenly distributed, it's an accident. The more Lu Yuan talked, the brighter his eyes became. He returned to the place, grabbed the hoe again, and said, is it what I guessed? I'll find out if I dig it out. Ah, he increased his strength and swung his hoe much faster. Landslide. Lao Lu is really a great analyst. But the analysis does make some sense. I still feel that the loot is unevenly distributed, and the blue and white porcelain should have been accidentally broken when the tomb robbers beat you to death. Why do you care so much? You'll know when Lao Lu digs it out. You dug up copper coins. You dug up copper coins. One by one copper coins were dug out constantly, and there were also many pieces of porcelain. This dig, it was 6 o'clock in the evening. The sun is showing signs of going down, and half of the forest is dyed with a crimson sunset. 5 meters near Lu Yuan, he had dug down to a depth of 2 meters and 5. Dirt and china shards piled up beside it. These pieces of porcelain, combined, are roughly equivalent to a vase half a meter high. As he continued to dig out porcelain and copper coins, the online live broadcast room did not elapse due to the passage of time, but instead increased and stabilized at 20 million. Everyone was waiting for him to dig up an ancient tomb. It has long been rumored in various forums that Lu Yuan dug up the ancient tomb, attracting a large crowd of onlookers. Major museums, as well as some archaeologists, have been off work, but their mobile phones have been kept on the live broadcast interface. Everyone was waiting for him to dig the tomb. It's all so deep, haven't you dug it yet? The ancient tomb was deep, so where did it go? If there is an ancient tomb, at least 3 meters must be dug up. Don't be funny without an ancient tomb behind. PFF'd. The hoe came back with feedback, and Lu Yuan paused before continuing to dig. Soon, a one-shoulder utility bag was dug up. The bag contains candles, rope, and even a power drill. Obviously, this is the tool of tomb robbers. Lu Yuan suddenly squatted down, grabbed a handful of dirt, and smiled, it's almost there. The crowd suddenly came to the spirit. Have you dug it? I didn't see the tomb brick. What is this? Lu Yuan said. Rotten weed roots, this should be the land before the landslide. Eat something first, and then dig when you're done. Digging here, he is not in a hurry. Climb out of the pit, sit on the spot, take out food and potential drinks, eat and drink, and replenish energy. It's been a minute, it's time for Lao Lu to work. It's been 5 minutes, and my donkey doesn't dare to rest like this. It's been 10 minutes, it's time to dig. Netizens are even more anxious than him. Lu Yuan stood up. It was already dark, but it wasn't completely dark yet, and there was still some visibility. He put on his headlamp and walked towards the pit. Treasure digging at night, except for the one in the garbage dump, this time. But that time was different from now. Even if you know that there are no large beasts here, you will still feel fear when you are alone in the dark mountains. This is the psychological instinctive fear of the dark. When he came to the pit, Lu Yuan was in no hurry to dig. He looked around again. The locations of the treasure points were scattered, but most of them were concentrated in one place. If there is an ancient tomb below, the place where the treasures are concentrated must be the location of a large number of funerary objects. The range of this piece of treasure is about 500 meters. Except for the scattered treasure points, Lu Yuan analyzed the real size of the tomb, which is about 250 meters to 300 meters. And the whole ancient tomb is in the shape of A, according to the treasure point division. Judging from the copper coins and blue and white porcelain fragments that appeared here, there must be a robbery hole here. As long as he finds the robbery hole, he doesn't even need to continue digging. Finding robbery holes is a technical task. If these tomb robbers are professional, they will definitely open a hole above the main tomb. However, their bodies were buried here, and it is estimated that they are not professional. Lu Yuan didn't have any ideas, and decided to be safe. He jumped down from the pit, and his current position was the lower half of the ancient tomb with the character A. 2 hours later. Clang. You dug an ancient tomb. Ancient tomb attribute. Ming Dynasty. Value. 500 million. Looking at the information that appeared in the system, the smile at the corner of Lu Yuan's mouth gradually spread all over his face. My analysis is not wrong. There is indeed an ancient tomb below. With so many information clues, if he still can't analyze it, then he can really hit him to death. At this time, he had dug to a depth of nearly 6 meters, and finally dug to the ancient tomb. From the tactile feedback on the hoe, he knew that he should have dug a tomb brick just now. He quickly dug up the soil next to him. When he dug up the top layer of soil to reveal the obvious external wall structure of the ancient tomb, the live broadcast was silent. Shocked my mother for 100 years, it's really an ancient tomb. Grass. Kneeling to Lao Lu, one person really dug up the ancient tomb. What kind of treasure is there to dig out of this technology? Let's be a tomb robber. Sand sculpture. Can tomb robbers earn more than Lao Lu? Old Lu has a certificate. This is legal tomb robbery. The 2 million certificate is back, definitely back. Return to the original. Haha, it's a godsend. Old Lu, I suggest you stop digging, because I'm jealous. You don't have enough equipment. Don't dig for now. Send me an address, and I'll send you black donkey hooves. There are ancient tombs that are not necessarily good things, and they have all been visited by tomb robbers. Are you kidding me? You've already dug up copper coins and china. Can there be no good things under this? Lu Yuan laughed for a while and said, don't wait for tomorrow, it's rare to dig an ancient tomb. If I don't dig it out today, I won't be able to sleep tonight. He squatted down, pushed away the soil on the side, tapped the ancient tomb below with his knuckles, and said, the lime sand bricks are the most striking feature of the ancient tombs of the Ming Dynasty. This tomb is indeed from the Ming Dynasty. Brothers, wait for my good news. Lu Yuan was very motivated, grabbed his hoe and started digging. Once the location of the ancient tomb has been determined, we cannot act recklessly. Although he has proof, he has to go through the process after digging the ancient tomb. First, he can dig, but not destroy the structure of the tomb. Second, the archaeological team needs to be invited to cooperate. Third, all cultural relics unearthed from ancient tombs need to be identified by experts. If the top cultural relics are national treasures, they cannot be sold abroad. Lu Yuan is very clear about these regulations, he just doesn't have time, or else he would have to take an archaeological test. When the ancient tombs are dug up in the future, you don't need to worry about the archaeological team, and you can do it alone. As for now, it's just a cleanup work around the ancient tomb, as long as the ancient tomb is not destroyed. He was digging, and the internet was already boiling. Hashtag Lao Lu dug to the ancient tomb of the Ming Dynasty hash. Big news, big news. He really dug. How did he do it? Professional. This group of streamers is a professional. It's not so much that he dug this ancient tomb, it's more that he found it. I only care if there are antiques in the tomb. This is no nonsense, there must be. Old Lu is numb, and I'm crying. I'm not a human being on a horse. When you got 2 million certificates, how happy you laughed, how bad it is now. The ghost knows he can really dig tombs. Abroad, netizens from the 2 countries were also shocked. This Dragon Kingdom anchor really went into the mountains and dug up an ancient tomb. Originally thought that he was at the peak of digging a tiger corpse, but he turned his head and dug an ancient tomb. Especially his various professional science popularization, this profound knowledge deeply shocked them. At the same time, followers from all walks of life were equally excited when they saw the brick wall structure of the ancient tomb. The phone calls frantically to Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan was about to clear the peace when the phone in his pocket began to vibrate. Almost forgot about you. Taking out his phone, Lu Yuan put the hoe aside and sat on the ground. Let's deal with this wave of calls first. Hey, Director Li, okay, you can ask Mr. Gu to bring someone here, don't be in such a hurry, okay, then pay attention to safety on the road. 5. Li Botao was the first to call. If more than one archaeological team wants to come to investigate the ancient tomb, it depends on which one Lu Yuan chooses. Li Botao felt that he was right to squat in the live broadcast room all the time. Judging from his contact with Lu Yuan doesn't really care about these little things. In this case, whoever calls first will be able to come and investigate the ancient tomb. Just after hanging up, Wu Jia called. Lu Yuan, the archaeological team wants your contact information. No need, tell them that an archaeological team has already come. Okay, I see. Wu Jia said, the company's people will be able to go to Tianyan Mountain early tomorrow morning, and the South China tiger corpse will be broadcast live. Well, good. After hanging up the phone, several more calls came in one after another. Sun Shangdong bears the brunt. Little Lu, I have a friend. Lu Yuan held his forehead and said with a black thread, Brother Sun, let's not talk about this for now, the tomb has not been dug up yet, and it's too far to talk about it now. Don't come here either, this is not Nanshan, this place is 10 minutes from the foot of the mountain. For a few kilometers, you may enter the mountain during the day, but you may not be able to get out at night. Let's talk about it when the tomb is dug out. That's right, I missed this point, okay, let's wait for you to dig it first. Anyway, you have been in contact with a lot of my friends, and you will never bargain when you meet someone you like. After hanging up the phone, Lu Yuan waited for a while, but no call came in again. This surprised him. Transgender is this. Li Huakai doesn't call anymore. Li Huakai wanted to call, but in the end he didn't call. He took an employee and drove over overnight. This time, I have to get 2 pieces for auction, even if I ask for it. Zhang Chao just finished the live broadcast of a street interview, looked at the time and said, it's almost 8 o'clock, brothers, I'm off the air, we'll see you tomorrow. As he said that, he glanced at the barrage, and the next second his smile stopped on his face. Brother Lu dug up an ancient tomb. Zhang Chao's mouth twitched, didn't he? Is Brother Lu so cruel? Isn't it digging up dead bodies? How did it become a tomb? Xiao Zhang, you missed an opportunity. Xiao Zhang's smile gradually shifted to my face. Ha ha ha, do you regret not following? It's useless to follow along, it's 2 million to get a certificate. An off-road vehicle driving in the dark. The young man in the co-pilot looked away from his mobile phone and looked at Wang Bing who was driving. Brother Lu dug up an ancient tomb. Ancient tomb, yes, from the Ming dynasty. Dig it from Tianyan Mountain. There's even an ancient tomb in that place. It's amazing. Should we go get a certificate too? No need. Wang Bing shook his head. He didn't think he had the ability to find the ancient tomb. 2 million is also a huge expense for them. The head of the archaeological team of Yingtian Museum, Ji Deyang. He was eating when he suddenly received a call from Li Botao. Archaeology. What ancient? What? Xiaolu dug up an ancient tomb. Okay, I see. I'm eating. I'll go over after dinner. Get your car ready and I'll contact them. 5. There are ancient tombs that can be inspected, what else can we rest? Those archaeological teams who did not qualify for the archaeological survey watched the live broadcast room and sighed. Lu Yuan put the phone away and continued digging. The online presence in the live broadcast room was even more terrifying than in the afternoon, and it had risen to 25 million. Everyone was watching him dig the tomb. This is the first time I watch an anchor dig a grave, what should I prepare for? God dug a grave, this is an ancient tomb. Isn't an ancient tomb a grave? It makes no difference. You win. Remember to prepare quick-acting heart-saving pills. If you don't have a good heart, it is not recommended to watch Lao Lu's live broadcast. Why? Will there be any irritating images? I love this one the most. It's nothing exciting. If you die, you will dig up a corpse. If you watch it too much, it will be like that. I am immune. The main thing is that you will often see Lao Lu dig some treasures. Lao Lu, who costs tens of thousands of them, doesn't even look at them, and you can't dig up hundreds of thousands of treasures. You can often see those who start with millions and tens of millions. Arrived. It's easy to emo after watching Lao Lu to dig treasure. This is the way this anchor hits people so unique. 10 p.m. Lu Yuan has cleared a 3-meter-long open area under his feet. It's still a solid brick structure. Where is this tomb? Who can answer your question? This ancient tomb is a bit big, it's more than 3 meters, and it's not over yet. Those who can be buried with porcelain are at least rich. Old Lu estimated that he dug a heavyweight grave. It's not the emperor's tomb, right? That's unlikely. The tombs of the emperors of the Ming dynasty have been dug up, and the approximate locations of those that have not been dug up have been determined. Lu Yuan dug out a space again and suddenly stopped. He stood beside the ancient tomb that had just been dug out and stared at the tomb brick and looked carefully. The night was too dark. He squatted down again, took out a large flashlight and shone on the tomb brick in front of him. Good stuff. Lu Yuan laughed out loud, and everyone looked at him curiously. The flashlight is bright enough to see clearly at night. But in their opinion, apart from the ancient tomb structure, there is nothing special. Why are you laughing so loudly? Have you dug into the entrance? The tomb has a fart entrance. Holding a hoe, Lu Yuan nodded at the ancient tomb under his feet, and said, "Here, it's a robbery hole. Look carefully, this piece is mud, not sand lime brick." After he reminded him so, and then looked closely, everyone really saw the difference. This piece is about 80 centimeters long, and although it is the same level as other nearby tomb bricks, there is no gap between the bricks. Does this mean that we can go straight down? Old Lu knew, you can dig a robbery hole. Hurry up and open it up. Fast forward to blue and white porcelain. Lu Yuan put the flashlight on the tripod and put it aside, aiming at the thief hole. Grab the hoe and push down gently. It was dirt, not bricks. In order not to destroy the structure of the tomb, this step must be slow. After digging for half an hour, with a pop sound, a hole was dug out of the soil that filled the robbery hole. Lu Yuan clearly felt the soil falling. After about a second, there was a slight sound of dirt falling to the ground. Because the time is too long, plus the pressure from the moment when the soil collapsed. The soil that sealed the thief hole was compacted and solidified into pieces, the hole in the middle was dug out, and the surrounding soil was not broken. At this time, you have to be careful, you can't continue digging. Lu Yuan put the hoe aside and grabbed it directly. If you don't know what's underneath, you have to get the soil up. In case there are china or antiques underneath, this kind of caked soil will smash it down. Baby smashed directly. The details are up to Lao Lu. Details, so much detail. I'm so anxious, get down quickly. 20 minutes later, Lu Yuan finally removed all the mud. This thief hole of about 80 centimeters is clearly presented at this moment. This hole is so big, I have a big idea. It looks a bit scary, there won't be ghosts down there. Ghost girl, don't talk about these things in the scientific world. Old Lu, hurry up. Go down, go down. Netizens didn't think it was a big deal to watch the excitement, and they swiped in the live broadcast room, and the whole screen was, go down. Lu Yuan took the flashlight and looked down, only to see a small hill made of dirt directly below, nothing else could be seen. According to the rough judgment of this pile of soil, the height is about 3 meters. In the field of robbing tombs, there are rules for robbing caves. Although I am not a tomb robber, I have to go to the tomb in a scientific way. He jumped into the pit, came to the corpse, and picked up the tool bag next to him. He took a candle out of it, and he brought the rope with him. It was only at this moment that he realized that he was not fully equipped for entering the mountain this time. Back at the robbery hole, he took out the rope, took out the shoelace, and tied the candle to the rope. Then light the candle and lower the rope down the robbery hole little by little. The ancient tombs are generally sealed, and there is no flowing air. Professional archaeologists generally wear gas masks. I have simple equipment and use candles instead. After the rope was put down, there was a small candle the size of a soybean under the robbery hole, flickering faintly. Lu Yuan watched carefully, waiting patiently. Old Lu is so professional, he even understands this kind of operation. Anyone who's watched the TV series of Tomb Raiders understand. Is it the same thing as seeing it and doing it? At this time, there are many more netizens in the live broadcast room. When he discovered the robbery hole, the hot searches of the major forums were immediately updated. A group of netizens chased Lu Yuan's progress in excavating the ancient tomb as if they were chasing a large-scale series. And just as Lu Yuan stared at the candle, an off-road vehicle drove up at the foot of the mountain. The car stopped, and 4 men got off from above. After checking their equipment, they quickly set off towards the mountain. One person was left in the car, sitting in the driver's seat, smoking a cigarette and watching the live broadcast. 5 minutes later, Lu Yuan slowly lifted the rope up. The candle flame is not extinguished, indicating that there is oxygen below. In fact, Lu Yuan is not too worried. After all, he has already been patronized by tomb robbers. Even if he is closed again for a period of time, he will be fine in a short time. But what he dug was an ancient tomb after all, and everything had to be done according to the rules. After all, so many people were watching. No problem below, go to the tomb. Lu Yuan tied his shoelaces and stood up, bringing the Loyang shovel over. The rope is tied to the Loyang shovel, stuck on the robbery hole, and then you can go down the rope. In fact, he didn't need to be so troublesome. Jumping 3 meters with his light power was not a problem at all. This can be done, but it is not necessary. After making all the preparations, Lu Yuan sat on the robbery cave, with his legs hanging in the darkness below, and said to the camera, "Brothers, go to the tomb, go." 5. He grabbed the rope and leaned down a little bit, and after a while, his body had been swallowed by the darkness. As far as the eye can see, the headlights illuminate. Snapped. A down-to-earth feeling came. The drone also followed into the tomb. Lu Yuan turned on the flashlight, and in an instant, the darkness was swept away, and the light illuminated a large area of the tomb. The general structure of the tomb is presented in front of everyone at a glance. Lu Yuan turned around slowly, a little surprised, but said unsurprisingly, "This is the tomb passage." Not surprisingly, because from the porcelain fragments he dug up, he judged that the identity of the tomb owner was unusual, and it was normal to have a tomb passage. Generally speaking, ancient tombs are buried with merchants, princes and nobles. Of course, the cemetery is also divided. From the size and length of the tomb passage, and whether the walls of the tomb passage are decorated, the approximate identity of the tomb owner can be distinguished. Surprise, because there is a tomb passage below the robbery hole, not the main tomb. Professional tomb robbers, after discovering the tomb, will determine the general structure of the tomb through the surface structure. The purpose of determining the structure is to open a hole for thieves. The preferred location for robbery is the main tomb. Driving on the tomb road. It can only be said that this group of tomb robbers are too amateur, and the amateur makes Lu Yuan feel a little distressed. I robbed a tomb, but encountered a landslide and buried myself here. How bad is this luck? Moreover, this ancient tomb is only 200 or 300 meters, which is considered a small scale in an ancient tomb. Such a small ancient tomb, you can even open a robbery hole on the tomb path. It is simply a shame for tomb robbers. This ancient tomb is not simple, there are also tomb passages. If you don't understand, ask, what is the tomb path? Similar to a corridor, at the end is the main tomb. Lu Yuan calmed down and began to observe carefully. There are 3 golden lights in the tomb. One of them is in the dirt piled up right under the robbery cave. The other 2 are in front of the cemetery. He ignored the pile of dirt and walked towards the front of the tomb with a flashlight. Look at the walls on both sides as you walk. The tomb passage is about 5 meters wide. The walls are bricks, no murals, no embellishments, and there are no stone pillars along the tomb passage to hold lamps. Very ordinary, even a bit shabby. Anyway, it is also an ancient tomb with a tomb, and the result is Assyrian decoration style. At this time, Lu Yuan's cell phone suddenly rang, and Wu Jia called. "Hey, Mr. Wu, what's the matter? Professor Lin wants to talk to you on the phone." "Which Professor Lin?" "Professor Lin from the Department of Archaeology at Peking University." "What do you want me to do?" Said it was about this ancient tomb you were digging, and he had something to say to you. Okay, let him call me. After a while, a number from the capital called. Hey, Mr. Liu, I'm Lin Zudong. There was an old and steady voice on the other end of the phone, not too young. Hello, Professor Lin, what's the matter? Lu Yuan was on the phone and kept walking forward. As you walk, measure the length of the tomb path you have walked under your feet. Lin Zudong said. Don't continue digging, go up immediately. Lu Yuan was taken aback. What did the tone of this order mean? Are you teaching me to do things? Mr. Liu. Do. Lu Yuan hung up immediately. Lin Zudong was stunned, making sure that the other party had hung up the phone, and he couldn't help frowning. Nonsense. He continued to dial, and Lu Yuan hung up directly. Dial again and get blocked. Lin Zudong blew his beard and stared. The young man beside him said, Professor Lin, what's wrong? Lin Zudong said angrily, this anchor hung up on me. Immediately staring at the scene of the ancient tomb presented in the live broadcast room, he said, if there is a tomb passage, it must be a large tomb. At least it is also the tomb of a prince and aristocrat. If he digs like this, he will destroy the tomb. He heard that someone had dug up an ancient tomb and watched it for the first time. When he saw Lu Yuan go down to the tomb and found the tomb passage, he couldn't sit still. This must be the big tomb. How can someone who doesn't know anything come to dig such a big tomb? His profession told him that it must be stopped. The young man reminded embarrassedly, Professor Lin, he has proof. You can't dig without proof. He didn't dig indiscriminately, people went down the robbery hole. The young man didn't have a hard time saying this, and Professor Lin was obviously angry. Do you care if I dig the tomb I found? Lu Yuan felt unhappy, and was most annoyed by people who ordered others based on their status. After walking along the tomb passage for about 30 meters, Lu Yuan suddenly stopped when he was feeling the length of the tomb passage. The first treasure trove is just ahead. When the flashlight shines through, Lu Yuan sees a skeleton. The skeleton is in a prone position, its head is tilted to one side, and the clothes on the body are earth-colored, shriveled and unable to see the material, and it is incomplete and only partially preserved. Warge, where did the corpses come from here? Scared Dad. Old Lu, take it easy, give me some signs, don't come here suddenly. Lu Yuan walked over and found a few scattered copper coins on the ground beside the body, but there was nothing else. After observing for a few minutes, he said, this is an ancient corpse, it should be a worker who built an ancient tomb, and the bones at the neck were broken and killed. Ignoring the copper coins on the ground, he continued to walk forward and said, after the tombs of the great men in ancient times were built, in order not to expose the location of the tomb, the workers would be trapped in the tomb, or killed directly. This corpse is the latter. It's inhumane. Help you repair the tomb, why are you killing people? You are a modern person talking about human nature with the ancients. It can be seen that it is indeed the tomb of a great man. No, even if there are workers, there should be more than one corpse. Lu Yuan continued to walk forward, and after a few minutes, stopped again. The flashlight shines forward, and there is no way to go. That's it, it's gone. What about the tomb of the big man? This tomb is rectangular. Did the ancients like something so special? Lu Yuan was also stunned, raised his hand and knocked, making a dull sound of dong dong dong. Tisk tisk, a tomb of this size still has a stone gate, what about it? Lu Yuan complained inwardly and said, this is the stone gate, and inside is the main tomb. The function of the stone gate is to prevent tomb robbers. The method is crude and simple, but it is also really effective. This stone gate weighs a few tons at least. In ancient times, only explosives could be used, but when the explosives exploded, the main tomb would also be destroyed. This was Lu Yuan's first time to dig an ancient tomb, and it was more difficult than he imagined. In the past, when digging things, it was all about what was digging underneath. Encountering ancient tombs is restricted everywhere. Whoever makes it an ancient tomb can dig it, but not destroy it. If it can be destroyed, Lu Yuan will directly dig with a hoe. Then what? Can't you get in? Didn't you hear what Lao Lu said? The stone gate weighs several tons, how do you get in? I've watched it for an afternoon, and it's just this. I'm so cracked. In ancient times there was Gong who was angry at Buzhou Mountain, but now there is Lao Lu who is angry at the stone gate of the ancient tomb. Come on, Lao Lu, hit me. Hit your sister. If there is a stone gate that cannot be entered, then change your mind. Let's dig the treasure of the tomb road first. The flashlight shone towards the golden light on the left, and a large blue and white porcelain vase more than half a meter high stood there quietly, as if isolated from the world, reappearing in the world at this moment. Looking to the right, there is only a wooden base on the ground, proving that there was once a vase here. It appeared to be the china shards he dug up on it. These idiots tomb robbers have ruined such a big treasure. But that doesn't happen with professional points either. Big vase. This is blue and white porcelain. Lao Lu, you have made a fortune. Can this only be worth 2 million? 2 million. Brother, be bold and add a zero. Add a zero. Brother, be bold and add an extra zero. 200 million. You can die if you don't brag. Lu Yuan approached and took a clear picture. The lips, the straight neck, the bulging belly, and the shallow circle feet. The inside and outside of the vessel are glazed, and the circle feet and bottom are unglazed. These are the big blue and white flowers in the Xuan period. Lu Yuan was stunned and marveled at the craftsmanship of porcelain firing in that era. Lao Lu also studied porcelain. I understand a little bit. Lu Yuan smiled slightly and said, first determine its age, and then look at other things. Ming Dynasty porcelain is the pinnacle, but the porcelain of each era is slightly different. The ones I just said, is a more obvious feature during the Xuan period. Look, here's the year number. He pointed to the shoulder of the big blue and white, and the book contained the 4 characters, Xuan year system, in regular script. It's really from the Xuan period. Old Lu's eyesight is enough. With a move of Lu Yuan's finger, everyone moved along. I saw that the whole body of the vase was painted with blue and white decorations, and the outer edge of the mouth was painted with a cloud pattern. In addition to the 4 characters made in Xuan year, the shoulders were also painted with 4 animal faces. On the belly of the vase, draw a majestic 5-clawed dragon playing among the clouds. The shin of the vase is painted with a circle of lotus petals, the blue and white hair is rich and green, and there are rust marks in the thick part. This is the trace that the times have given it. The whole vase, plus the wooden base, is about 60 centimeters high. A vase of this size is extremely rare in the entire antique market. Best of all, it's a royal item. Tisk tisk, the owner of this tomb is bold enough. Dragon patterns cannot be used indiscriminately. Except for the emperor, princes and princes can all use them. But the dragon patterns they use are very different from the emperor in terms of shape. The owner of this tomb is either a relative of the royal family, or he secretly stole this big blue and white piece from the palace. Lu Yuan personally prefers the latter. Not to mention that I didn't even react, this is actually a dragon. It's still a 5-clawed dragon. 3. Are there so many ancient rules? I'm afraid I won't survive for 3 days if I travel back in time. I'm afraid this is a king's cemetery. Just thinking too much, the tomb path is so simple, which prince and aristocrat are so shabby. It's a pity that the main tomb can't be entered. Lu Yuan didn't touch the big blue and white piece, so I'll wait until the archaeological team arrives tomorrow. It is safer to put the big blue and white in the ancient tomb than to take it out now. Especially at night, when most of the beasts come out to hunt for food. If they crash, the loss will be great. There are only 2 treasures on this side of the tomb road. One is the copper coin scattered next to the corpse, and the other is the big blue and white. He turned and walked back. There was one last treasure spot under the dirt pile. By the way, he also has to find a way to enter the main tomb. Workers who build ancient tombs generally give themselves a way out. Don't they know that when the tomb is completed, they have a high probability of being killed? It must be known, after all, this kind of thing happened a lot in the past. The best way is to escape. If you can't escape, you can only stay behind. For example, when repairing tombs, leave 1 or more holes leading to the outside. There are various entrances to the cave, some are in the main tomb, some are in the tomb passage. In short, everything is possible. He came to the mound, grabbed the pickaxe, and said, see if there is anything good under here. At the same time, on Weibo late at night, Lu Yuan was once again on the hot search. #Lao Lu dug into Ming Qinghua hash. There was a slight disturbance in the live broadcast room, and it was immediately spread by netizens. Netizens took the initiative to promote it, attracting more people to stay up all night to chase after Lu Yuan and dig his grave. Has this dug a baby? Can you tell me how much is the 20 centimeters thing? I see someone saying it's worth 20 million. There's also something said to be worth 200 million. 200 million is just bullshit. It's really hard to say. Ming Qinghua has always been the darling of the auction house, and it's not that they have never been auctioned. This is a tribute to the royal family, and there are dragon patterns, and the price is definitely not cheap. I really want to throw 2 mice into the tomb, and I really want to see the mice smash the big vase. Heroes think alike. +1. +10,086. Lu Haisheng was leaning against the bedside, watching Lu Yuan's live broadcast with his mobile phone. When he saw this big blue and white, his tiger body was shaken, and he was so excited that for the first time he felt how painful it was that he would not be able to send bullet screens to communicate. Before he finished watching the video, he got up from the bed. His wife, who was about to fall asleep, was awakened by him, raised her head and complained, "What are you doing?" Lu Haisheng put on his pants and said, "I'm going out for a long trip, and I won't be back tomorrow." With a question mark, his wife glanced at the dark sky outside the window with some self-doubt, and then picked up the phone to check the time. Now, well, right now. Xiaolu dug a big blue and white flower. I have to go and see it. I won't have a chance if it's too late. Lu Yuan only knows how to identify blue and white porcelain, and besides identifying, he also knows the value of this large blue and white porcelain, how terrifying it is. That netizen is right. This thing, I am afraid it really costs hundreds of millions. Lu Haisheng was glad that he didn't go to bed early today, otherwise I'd really miss it. Put on your clothes, go out and go downstairs, and dial Xu Zonglin's phone. By the way, sleep. How can you fall asleep at this point? Get up quickly, call your son to drive, and take you to see the big baby. Clang, you dug up the corpse. Body. Value, 8,000 yuan. Lu Yuan raised his brows, opened the pit, and saw the obvious modern clothing on the corpse, the Luoyang shovel and the broken rope beside the corpse. Lu Yuan suddenly realized. All the small pieces of information are now concatenated into a complete piece of information in his mind. There were 2 tomb robbers, one went down to the tomb, and the other went to the tomb. He was still curious before, how this guy managed to get such a big vase up from the tomb with a drop of 3 meters. 2 people, it is easy to understand. After the people below handed the coins and vases up, they encountered a landslide. The person above was instantly buried alive, and the person below was also buried. I'm going, there's a tomb robber here. A tragic group, the whole army was wiped out. Lao Lu should be careful when digging treasures in the future, and don't dig those close to the hillside. I feel like you're cursing Lao Lu. Lu Yuan looked at the corpse, his eyes lit up. Is the golden light still there? Anything good here? He dragged the body aside and continued digging. The mound was easy to dig, and it was cleared out in 2 strokes. Below is the neat cemetery floor tiles, and nothing special. In his mind, he had a guess. Below this, there is a high probability that the workers who repaired the tomb back then left behind. He picked up the hoe, took a few steps back, and tapped the floor tile with a wooden handle. What is this for? It should be to simulate the sound of a wooden fish, and let the tomb robbers escape. Old Lu really knows a little bit about everything, and he is a master of superhumanity. Lu Yuan said speechlessly, I'm looking for a student. Ancient tombs usually have life gates. This is the backhand left by the people who built the ancient tombs. If you want to not be discovered by the tomb owner, the life gate must be very hidden. Workers don't know where they will be locked. It may be the main tomb or the tomb passage, so there are usually multiple life gates. If there is only one life gate, it will definitely run through the main tomb and the tomb passage. This tomb path is nearly 100 meters long, and there are no extra decorations except for vases. The place where the gate can be hidden is the underground, except for the walls. The underground is more convenient. I will look for it. He tapped brick by brick and slowly walked towards the treasure point. Details, brothers, here are the details. Looking at Lao Lu digging treasures, I can see the feeling of robbing a tomb. Thanks to Lao Lu for digging treasures instead of robbing tombs, or what kind of tomb can stop Lao Lu's hoe? I suspect that if it wasn't broadcast live, Lao Lu would have chiseled the stone. Boom. A hollow yes knock sounded unlike other floor tiles. Standing on the treasure point, Lu Yuan tapped a few more times, then smiled and said, I found it. Come on, awesome. What a life. I thought there was no drama tonight, the twists and turns. Pry open, hurry, hurry, enter the main tomb, I want to see the big baby. In the evening, netizens were very excited. Lu Yuan's mood also rose. If there is a gate of life, the stone gate is just a decoration. He pushed aside the excess dirt and continued to tap to determine the size of the tunnel entrance. After a while, he stopped, and it was confirmed that the entrance was about 1 meter long and wide. He squatted down, took out the wild knife, inserted it into the gap between the bricks, and pried it with a little force. In the sound of caca, a lime sand brick was pried up a few centimeters. He pinched it between his thumb and forefinger and pulled upwards. The resistance was obvious, but it couldn't resist his strength, and the brick was easily pulled out. Then, the second brick, the third. 2 minutes later, a dozen bricks were laid neatly on the ground beside him. Under the light of the flashlight, the entrance of a square hole about 1 meter long and wide appeared. The netizens were so excited that they kept urging Lu Yuan to go down quickly. Don't worry, light a candle first. I lit the candle again, stretched it out in my hand, and waited for 5 minutes, the candle didn't go out, and the hole was fine. Putting things away, Lu Yuan adjusted the headlight, put away the flashlight, and patted Xiao Lu, go down. 666. Xiao Lu jumped down first. Lu Yuan also jumped down. The hole is not deep, only about 1 meter 5, and it is an L-shaped warehouse. After jumping down, I found that it was very short, only less than 1 meter in height. Click, he felt something stepped on under his feet, and looked down, copper coins. Thanks to this copper coin, it would take a lot of time to find the tunnel. Picking up the coin, Lu Yuan hunched over and walked forward, the headlights only illuminated more than 1 meter. He turned on the flashlight and shone forward. This photo, Lu Yuan couldn't help taking a deep breath. As far as the eye can see, there are corpses. Rao is that Lu Yuan has dug up many valuable treasures. Rao is that he dug up 2 corpses in 1 day. Seeing this scene at this moment, I couldn't help but take a deep breath. In the long hole, skeletons are laid on the ground, one by one, making people want to escape from here immediately. I'm going, why are there so many corpses? Is it the worker who repairs the tomb? The ancient times are terrible, but it is fortunate to live in modern times. I'm a little scared to look at it. Lu Yuan adjusted his posture, but the hole in the ground was too short, and he could not avoid it no matter how he adjusted it. He could only try his best not to step on the bones, and walk towards the end of the hole step by step. After walking about 40 meters, Lu Yuan stopped. There is no road ahead. This hole is blocked. All wipe, I'm happy for nothing. Go back to Lao Lu, wait for the archaeological team to come over and dig. I won't be able to enter the main tomb tonight. People are sorry. Accidents really come one after another. Lu Yuan touched the dirt blocking the path and said, this was blocked later. After speaking, he squatted down, picked up the hoe, adjusted his posture, and swung out at the dirt blocking the road in front of him. Ah, nothing can stop me. This main tomb must be entered today. This dig is an hour. Puff. The soil that plugs the hole is about 1 meter thick, like a die-cast mud wall. However, under Lu Yuan's hoe, he was vulnerable and was finally dug through at this moment. After digging through, there is another road ahead. It has to be Lao Lu. If you change to an ordinary person, you will just retire. This is really hanging, there is no way to dig a way out. He took a few steps, reached out and touched the upper right of the hole, and said, there is a fork here, but it is blocked. It seems that this hole has been discovered by the tomb owner long ago. After the tomb was repaired, they directly filled the escape hole, tisk tisk, really cruel. A large amount of soil poured in along the exit of the hole, blocking the place. By the way, the road to the main tomb was also blocked. And he just came all the way, only to find the body, no tools such as a hoe. Without tools, even if you know where the exit is, it is impossible to dig it out with just one hand. Lu Yuan continued to walk forward, calculating the distance in his heart as he walked. The tomb passage is about 50 or 60 meters long, and the underground hole must be longer. After walking for about 5 minutes, Lu Yuan estimated that he should almost arrive. Sure enough, after a while, he saw that there was no road in front of the cave, and it was built to death by a layer of dense brick walls. Lu Yuan stepped up, raised his hand and tapped. The sound of dong 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 shows that the opposite is an empty place. However, these bricks were sealed, obviously because they were worried about being seen from the outside. Lu Yuan took out the wild knife and inserted it into the cracks of the bricks little by little. With no strength, he finally pried off the first brick. The first step of the long march, the main tomb is within easy reach. Lu Yuan smiled and pried off the surrounding bricks one by one. Netizens stared attentively, without blinking, for fear of missing the wonderful moment. When Lu Yuan pried open an exit of about 80 centimeters, he said, "It's done, follow me to see the baby." Lu Yuan probed his legs first, followed by 2 legs. Snapped. The soles of the feet touched the ground, the center of gravity shifted down instantly, and half of the body came out of the hole, followed by the upper body. In less than a minute, Lu Yuan had already drilled out of the hole. Turn on the flashlight, and the powerful light instantly illuminates the entire tomb. Under the bright light, the huge space was suddenly revealed. A quick glance around, the structure of the entire tomb has been understood. The lower part of the tomb is square, and the upper part is a circular dome. The entire tomb is about 200 square meters, which is not particularly large. With Lu Yuan's lighting, the internal structure of the tomb, as well as the furnishings of the tomb, were clearly introduced into the live broadcast room at this moment. A coffin in the middle is so conspicuous that people cannot ignore it. "Come in. I saw the coffin. Why is this tomb so shabby? It doesn't seem like there's anything good. Finally come in, fast forward to open the coffin." The crowd was very excited. After waiting all night, I finally entered the main tomb, and the traffic in the live broadcast room was surging. Lu Yuan smiled and strode forward. The major archaeological teams also trembled with excitement and kept tapping on the screen. "Tongzhou Archaeological Team, Mr. Lu, go and see what is on those stone pillars." "Yangcheng Archaeological Team, Mr. Lu, walk slowly and take pictures carefully." "Magic City Archaeological Team, Mr. Lu, check if there are any tombstones nearby. Hurry up, wait online, hurry." Lu Yuan circled around the tomb, and the whole tomb was much simpler than he imagined. The treasures in the entire tomb can be simply divided into 3 categories based on the naked eye. The first type is the 3 1-meter-high stone pillars placed side by side in front of the coffin, each with something on it. The second type is a large box on the left, right, rear, and 3 sides of the coffin. The box is 3 meters long and placed horizontally, which is slightly shorter than the coffin by the upper half. The third category is the position on the left side of the tomb against the wall, where a dozen or so 30-centimeter-high porcelain jars are placed. In addition, there are some sporadic treasure spots that are not on the bright side. As for the tombstone, nothing. "Old Lu, don't stand still, open the coffin quickly. There must be something good in the box next to the coffin." "Are those on the wall blue and white porcelain?" Lu Yuan smiled and said, "Don't worry, I'll read them one by one. It's only after 11 o'clock, so it's early." He walked to the wall, and in front of him were ordinary porcelain jars, about 40 centimeters in height, sealed with mud as a whole, and there were 12 in a row. He squatted down and touched one of them, and the information immediately emerged. "Wine. Attribute, Ming Dynasty. Value, 3 million. Is there wine in here?" He passed by one, and in the 12 porcelain jars, all of them were sealed drinks. There are not many people buried with wine. Lu Yuan grabbed the lid of the wine jar, picked it up, and shook it a little, and there was a sound of wine swaying inside. Then he stretched his nose and sniffed again, and said, "There should be wine in it. I'm going, Ming Dynasty wine. Old Lu, I have a story, bring some wine." "Wine, Maotai, it's obviously Wuliangye. Is Jian Nanshan not worthy of the nomination?" Lu Yuan put down the wine jar, shook the other wine jars in turn, and said, "This is full of wine. It seems that the owner of the tomb was a drinker during his lifetime, and he would be buried with wine when he died." At this moment, Ji Yudeyang and his team of archaeologists who have already set off for Tianyan Mountain. Ji Yudeyang leaned against the co-pilot, watching Lu Yuan enter the main tomb, looking at the complete tomb, looking at the jar of wine he picked up, and was very excited. The wine of the Ming Dynasty turned out to be the wine of the Ming Dynasty. The young man in the back row said, "Teacher Ji Yu, can the wine of the Ming Dynasty be kept to this day?" "It's hard to say. Gu Deyoung said. Very few ancient wines have survived, especially those buried with wine. He looked at Lu Yuan, who put down the wine, and said with emotion, this kid can really dig. The young man asked, Mr. Gu, how much can this jar of wine sell for? Gu Deyoung pondered for a moment and said, I remember that no one has ever bought or sold, so naturally it is not easy to refer to, but it will not be less than 1 million. Several young people in the car looked envious. A can of 1 million, 12 cans is 12 million. Envy is dead. It was now nearly 12 o'clock. Most cities fall into silence and fall asleep. In the capital, in the presidential suite of a 5-star hotel, Yang Quan has also fallen asleep. Yang Quan, chairman of Motai, came to the capital for a meeting. At this moment, the mobile phone at the bedside suddenly vibrated non-stop. Usually no one calls him at such times. Call and explain that there is something urgent, important. He immediately opened his eyes and picked up the phone. The secretary called. Little Hu, what's wrong? Yang Dong, ancient wine of the Ming dynasty. Xiao Hu was a little incoherent with excitement. Yang Quan pressed his temple. Organize the language and speak well. After more than 10 seconds, Xiao Hu calmed down. An anchor dug up an ancient tomb of the Ming dynasty, and there were more than a dozen jars of wine in the ancient tomb, which belonged to the Ming dynasty. Yang Quan was startled, and immediately understood the importance of it. Antiques audience will never be ordinary people, it's a niche group composed of high net worth people. After all, not all rich people like to collect antiques. Some people like to collect girls. The ancient wine of the Ming dynasty, ordinary people will think that even horse urine is inferior. Individual collectors may like some people, and some people are indifferent. But for them, the largest wine industry group in the Dragon Country, this is a treasure that is hard to find. Are you sure it's an ancient wine from the Ming dynasty? Not sure, Xiao Hu said, but the archaeological team has already passed, and they will be there tomorrow BJBC. Judging from the process of the anchor's excavation, I think there is a high probability that it is an ancient wine of the Ming dynasty. Before getting the expert's appraisal, even if Lu Yuan had dug all the way, he wouldn't dare to say that for sure. The excavation process. Yes, this anchor is a treasure digger. He dug up an ancient tomb at noon today. Xiao Hu quickly introduced Lu Yuan's identity. After listening to this, Yang Quan said, you should arrange for someone to go there immediately and wait for the expert to identify it. If it is an ancient wine from the Ming dynasty, buy it. Such a scene is happening in major wine companies across the country. Ming dynasty ancient wine, if you can buy it and operate it well, it will definitely be a big killer to enhance the brand culture and heritage. Lu Yuan put down the wine and walked towards the 3 stone pillars in front of the coffin. It stopped before the first stone pillar, and the drone came around the stone pillar to make a 360-degree observation without dead ends. On the stone pillar, there is a light cyan round belly pot covered with a log lid. Lu Yuan said, this is imitation roux glaze. On the bus to Tianyan Mountain, Lu Haisheng also recognized it, imitate roux glaze. Porcelain from Xuan years, this little Lu knows a lot. Lu Yuan walked slowly around the stone pillar and said, roux glaze is a famous kiln in the Song dynasty. During the Yongle period of the Ming dynasty, Jingdezhen kiln started to imitate it. And roux glaze did not start to imitate until the Xuan period. A piece of imitation roux glaze, not surprisingly, is a product of the Xuan period. Brothers, it's time for class. What is this jar for? To be placed in this position, this jar is absolutely extraordinary. Lu Yuan smiled and said, it's not as much as you think, this is a cricket jar, used for fighting crickets. At that time, there were a lot of people who liked to play with crickets, and Xuanzong of the Ming dynasty was even called the emperor. The jars of fighting crickets were also all the rage, and many officials followed them. There were also many military officers, and they were called black-headed generals, which has a good meaning. Quote, Day, cricket jar, the emperor fights crickets, it's weird enough. Can this kind of thing be placed in this position? How much did the tomb owner love to fight crickets? Lu Yuan reached out and touched the lid of the porcelain, and the message emerged. Imitating roux glazed cricket jar, properties, Ming dynasty. Value, 20 million. He lifted the lid, and there was only a layer of light black dust-like stuff inside, and there was nothing else. After so many years, the crickets have long since died. 3 stone pillars, 1 cricket jar occupies one. This tomb owner is a bit interesting. Lu Yuan smiled and walked towards the second stone pillar. On the second stone pillar is a brick. Am I blind? Is this a brick? 5. 666. Tomb owner city people, they really know how to play. 5. I'm afraid this tomb has not been visited by tomb thieves. Who is so idle to put a brick? Lu Yuan smiled and said, this is a tomb talisman brick, which is used to guard the tomb. What are the tomb suppressing bricks? Indicates that you haven't heard of it. Mr. Lu is online. This is the first time netizens are exposed to this thing. Not to mention them, even some archaeologists who are watching the live broadcast are hearing about it for the first time. Not that archaeologists know everything. The knowledge in books can never be learned, not to mention the ancient tombs of different dynasties have different styles, materials and burial systems. The more opportunities for archaeology, the more knowledge you have, and the more unclear situations you will face. Practice the truth. When you encounter something you don't understand during archaeology, you will make targeted inquiries and learn some relevant knowledge at the same time. With the increase in the number of archaeological studies and the more and more knowledge mastered, we can barely be called a teacher in this industry. Teacher Gu, what are the tomb talismans? Gu DeYoung pondered for 3 seconds, and said, it's a kind of protection talisman. Lu Yuan said, have you heard of tomb-suppressing beasts? From the investigation of the current archaeological findings, the tomb-suppressing beasts were first seen in the tombs of Chu in the Warring States period, popular in the Wei and Jin dynasties to the Sui and Tang dynasties, and gradually disappeared after the 5 dynasties. Most of them can only be used by people with prominent local positions. The ancients believed that after the deceased was buried, the standard of the undead's pursuit in the ground is either to ascend to heaven and become immortal, or to continue to enjoy the glory and wealth in the world. In order to protect the peace of the dead, and not be invaded and disturbed by other ghosts and other monsters, requires the presence of tomb-suppressing beasts. And what kind of tomb-suppressing beast is placed in the tomb? With the evolution of history, there is a strict classification of identities. I won't go into details here, you just need to know that there is such a thing. After the 5 dynasties, basically no one used tomb-suppressing beasts, and they exchanged one thing, this is it. He pointed to the brick and said, suppressing the tomb talisman. But not everyone will use it. There are very few people who use the tomb-suppressing bricks. After a brief introduction, he reached out and grabbed Fu Zhuan. The bricks are muddy sand gray pottery, 30 centimeters long, nearly 30 centimeters wide, and 1 finger thick. He grabbed both sides with both hands and tried to hold it up to make sure there was no damage. This was completely dragged in the palm of his hand, and it was heavy and quite heavy. Toontown Talisman Brick Attribute, Ming Dynasty. Value, 15 million. Lu Yuan was surprised. Ah, this thing is worth so much. Old Lu really knows everything, he is so profound. So is what the anchor said true. I didn't find out about my mother-in-law, it's not just what Lao Lu said. A slab of brick has such a rich history, I thought there was nothing good. How many boxes of that size were eaten by you? The boxes are definitely treasures of gold and silver. Lu Yuan held the town tomb brick in his hand and let the drone take a clear picture. On the right side of the front of the talisman brick, the words, Yuanxi Antu Yufu, are written in regular Zubi. In the middle is the red pen rune, which is composed of 5 characters, gold, wood, water, fire and soil. The left side is also written with a red pen. The right symbol tells the gossip of the next 9 palaces, the Taisui God, the 5 taboos, the earth and the 100 spirits, the Shancheng fuming, the Enjun house, the corpse and the old village, the ghosts and goblins, the floating trail wasted, the civil engineering is partial. Victory, all the ghosts and ghosts, dare to hunt, turn evil into good luck, destroy traces and remove shapes, have edicts from the Supreme Being, dispatch them quickly, keep the house clean, internal and external tranquility, just like an order. At first glance from a distance, this is an unremarkable brick. When you get closer, it's a work of art. Judging from these words, it is full of strong Taoist color, which is extremely rare. Looking at the live broadcast of the members of the archaeological teams in major cities, they read each word with wide eyes, and then saved a screenshot. How lucky it would be if we could excavate this ancient tomb together. Such thoughts could not help but emerge in the minds of the major archaeologists. Putting down the talisman brick, Lu Yuan walked towards the last stone pillar. From the position of the 3 stone pillars, it can be seen that the things placed on them are more important to the owner of the tomb. On the 3rd stone pillar is a half-meter high blue and white porcelain vase. Putting blue and white porcelain on the stone pillar is very fascinating. And the other 2 stone pillars, in addition to the tomb talisman brick, the cricket jar, is also very fascinating. It's just a cricket. No matter how much the owner of the tomb liked it during his lifetime, he wouldn't put it in this position, right? As usual, I circled around the vase first. This is a Chunghwa blue and white jar, typical of the Chunghwa official kiln manufacturing office. The most amazing thing is that this blue and white jar is too new. Ordinary people, no, even if the experts in the field of porcelain come to see it, I am afraid they will think it is a fake. This is what appeared in the ancient tomb, and in another place, Lu Yuan would not take a closer look at it. How new is this blue and white jar? Enough to confuse the real. No, this thing is real. But even so, Lu Yuan felt that a mere blue and white pot should not be placed in this position. After confirming that the blue and white jar was flawless, he held the mouth and neck with one hand and the bottom with the other, and lifted it up. As soon as he started, he felt the difference before he had time to read the system prompts. Shen, the entire blue and white pot is no more than 40 centimeters high and weighs no more than 5 kilograms. The heaviness that can be started is at least 20 pounds. There is something in here. Chunghwa blue and white jar attribute, Ming Dynasty. Value, 23 million. Lu Yuan stared at the blue and white pot in his hand. The value was confirmed, but the golden light did not disappear. There's a baby inside, Lu Yuan said. There is something in here. It's probably keeping fish. Fish in the Ming Dynasty, holding grass, think about it and get excited. How does Lao Lu know there is something? Thank you, ordinary person, your IQ allows me to enjoy unspeakable superiority. It's all in your hand, can you feel something inside? Lu Yuan put the vase back in place, lifted the lid, lowered his head to look, and immediately reached into it. When he took it back, he already had a gold bar in his hand. Looking at the gold bar, Lu Yuan shook his head and said, I thought it was a good thing, but it turned out to be gold. I was looking forward to it in vain. Crowd, as this anchor, always speaking like this. I said earlier, watch Lao Lu's live broadcast and prepare a quick-acting heart-saving pill. A gold bar, this is a gold bar. Is this his attitude towards the baby? It's too rude. Used to it. The vase was stuffed with gold bars, and Lu Yuan placed it on the stone pillar without looking at it. It's just gold, boring. This thing is okay now, and it is placed in a pile of cultural relics. There is really nothing worth looking at. Unless it changes its form, it's worth the money. 666. Lu Yuan looked at the sound, and Xiaolu didn't know when he ran to the box on the left side of the coffin. Lu Yuan walked over and circled around the wooden box. The wood is the first-class elm. Although it is not as good as the golden Nanmu and Wenge, it can only be used by large families. After so many years, the wood did not show any signs of decay. He reached out and put his hand on the wooden cover, probing down inch by inch along the edge, and felt the contact between the cover and the box. Then walk slowly, watching as you go. There are no steel nails or tenons on the box, it is simply covered. To be sure, he pressed both sides of the wooden cover with both hands and exerted force on his forearms. With the sound of crunch, the heavy wooden cover was pushed open a gap little by little. The gap gradually widened, he stopped pushing, changed the angle, and lifted the lid. Then lift the lid, walk to the wall, and lean against the wall. This lid is heavy and heavy, at least 100 kilograms, it is really impossible to do it without any strength. He returned to the edge of the box, glanced at it, and was immediately attracted. Worthy, baby, so many babies. Old Lu posted it, this time it's true. Gold, silver, without the wooden cover, everyone could see it clearly. A pile of silver was piled up at the bottom of the box, and gold bars were piled aside, one yellow and one silver, with a clear distinction. Gold and silver alone took up half of the box, and the other half was filled with jewelry, bracelets, and jade pendants. The impact of this scene could not be said, but Lu Yuan was not too excited. This means that it looks too much, but the actual value may not be as valuable as the big blue and white flower at the entrance of the tomb. After looking at it for a while and making sure there was nothing good, Lu Yuan walked towards the box on the other side. Lao Lu, aren't you excited? Look at it again, I haven't watched it yet. Those strings of pearls are very expensive at first glance, old Lu science. As far as Lao Lu's attitude is concerned, this box is worthless. 5. So much gold and silver jewelry is worthless. Come to the second box. Crunch. The wooden cover was placed against the wall, and Lu Yuan walked back. The contents of the box made Lu Yuan stunned for a while. He even glanced at the surroundings and the top of the tomb subconsciously. There were only 2 items in the box, and the empty space made Lu Yuan wonder if there had been a tomb robber here. A scroll of calligraphy and painting, a piece of porcelain, that's all there is in the box. Porcelain is a bowl the size of a palm. He leaned over and picked up the china bowl. Ming Chunghua Dukai Chicken Cup. Attribute, Ming Dynasty. Value, 100 million. Lu Yuan's eyes lit up, and he said in his heart, good guy. He could see at a glance that it was a chicken pot cup, and was surprised that such a precious and rare chicken pot cup would appear in an ordinary tomb. Although this ancient tomb has a tomb passage, it is no exaggeration to say that it is mediocre in terms of size and scale. The shabby Lu Yuan wanted to hire a designer for him. But in such a shabby ancient tomb, there is actually a chicken pot cup. Beijing Archaeological Team, Mr. Lu, can you take a photo of this porcelain? I lost it, and all the people in the capital came out. A lot of professionals exploded this night. Lu Yuan didn't watch the barrage, he didn't have the time. He played with it for a while before showing the chicken pot cup to the camera, with a grin at the corner of his mouth, revealing a smile that made old fans flustered. Brothers, do you know this? Don't call me brother, I can't afford it. Old Lu, just quote directly and save me a few heart-saving pills. It's just a bowl, isn't it? Lu Haisheng, this is the Ming Chunghua Dukai Chicken Cup. Is that Mr. Lu? Look at it, it's certified, it's Lao Lu. You called Lao Lu. Mr. Lu can actually post a barrage. Where is your focus? Isn't the focus on this porcelain? Chicken pot cup, what a chicken pot cup. How many? Doukai Chicken Pot Cup, a work fired at the peak of Doukai. If this chicken pot cup is real, Lao Lu's worth at least doubles. Grip the grass, this broken bowl is so valuable. Lu Yuan said with a smile. I've already seen it, and it's the chicken pot cup that can't be wrong. I don't know the specific value of the chicken pot cup, but it's okay to exceed 100 million yuan. How much? Over 100 million. I just checked, and there are no more than 20 of these things in existence, and they have sold 280 million at auctions. Grip the grass, I'm sore. Why is it so expensive? It's such a broken bowl. Netizens are sour, which is unacceptable. Lu Yuan was also quite surprised. He knew that chicken cups were expensive, but he didn't know the specific market price. The system gave a valuation of 100 million, and the gap between the auction price and the auction price was a bit outrageous. Lu Yuan said, when talking about antiques, don't talk about actual use value. First of all, the chicken bowl cup was designed by Emperor Chunghua himself, and the bottom line of the Ming Chunghua annual system is also his own inscription. An emperor personally designed and inscribed it, and it is normal to be expensive. Secondly, this cup was designed by Emperor Chunghua for concubine Wan. It was a privately designed gift for her. The love story behind the two directly raised the value of this cup to a higher level, and it is not comparable to other coquettish cheap goods. Furthermore, this chicken pot cup is not only high in contemporary times, but also terrifying in value in the Ming dynasty. The cup was made during the Chunghua period, and in the Wanli period, the cup was already astronomical. There are records in ancient books, there is a success in the imperial palace. A pair of cups is worth 100,000. Think about it. During the Wanli period, a pair of cups cost 100,000 yuan. What is the concept? Lu Yuan's remarks gave everyone a relatively detailed understanding of the chicken pot. 100,000 pairs in ancient times. Is it so outrageous? The behavior of emotional price gouging has been so skilled in the ancients. 200 or 300 million, Lao Lu can retire directly. Old Lu, stop after this time and stop digging. If I dig further, I'll really be jealous. Lu Yuan put the chicken pot cup back carefully. He packs lightly, even if he brings a net pocket, it is not easy to pack. For such a valuable item, it is most appropriate to put it in the tomb for the time being. Anyway, this place is already his, it doesn't matter when he takes it away. Putting down the chicken pot, he first turned around and moved the lid of the box and put it on the ground. Only then did I pick up the scroll. The wood at both ends of the scroll was of good quality, and there was no sign of rot for so many years. The drawing paper is silk cloth, which can be preserved for a long time. When it comes to antiques and cultural relics, calligraphy and painting are definitely unique. He put the scroll on the lid of the box and slowly unfolded it. The scroll is about 1 meter 3 long and 30 centimeters wide, which is quite a large painting. Due to its age, the scroll has turned yellow and darkened, but it is quite well preserved. The paintings on the silk cloth can be seen clearly. Landscape, trees and villages can be seen on the painting, which is a landscape painting. Painting. Name, coloring landscape map. Attribute, Tang Dynasty. Value, 20 million. Lu Yuan glanced at it and focused on the painting itself. He was surprised that the painting was from the Tang Dynasty. And the name of this painting surprised him. This turned out to be, Coloring Landscape Map. In the front of the frontispiece, there are inscriptions and postscripts by Liu Tenglao in the Northern Song Dynasty, in addition to Yu Ji in the Yuan Dynasty, and Ji Deji in the early Ming Dynasty. The evaluation of the system, this time there is no big problem. If this is an authentic work, let alone 20 million, it would be more than adding a zero. This painting is so dark, it must be worthless, right? As long as it's an ancient painting, it's not cheap. This painting looks familiar, I feel like I've seen it somewhere before. I remembered, this is the Coloring Landscape Map, there is a replica in our school. I said why it's so familiar. The teacher took out this painting and told us about the structure in class. No, there is already a copy of this painting, how come there is still here? Some art school students felt familiar at first glance, but after careful reflection, they quickly remembered where they had seen it. They were puzzled, how could there be two of the same painting? As the identity of the painting was revealed, more and more people were discussing in the live broadcast room. Old Lu just dug it up, you said you've seen it. Funny. It's definitely Coloring Landscape, there's no way it could be wrong, I remember it well. I'm calling the teacher. Longguo Academy of Fine Arts, in one of the dormitories, a group of young boys are watching the live broadcast. This is the Coloring Landscape Map. Second child, give Teacher Zhang a call. What time is it? Teacher Zhang must be asleep. It's okay, he's definitely interested in this matter. Finally, the second child called Teacher Zhang. The phone rang for a long time before a man's low and sleepy voice sounded over there. Hey, Teacher Zhang, I'm sorry to disturb your sleep. Say something. It's like this, there is a painting unearthed in an ancient tomb, which is Wang Wei's Coloring Landscape Map. Impossible. Teacher Zhang was already sober, and said directly, there is already a picture, how can it still be unearthed? I don't know either, but it's true. It was just unearthed. The second child told him the matter in detail, and after listening, Teacher Zhang said, send me the link to the live broadcast room. Point 0. After hanging up, Teacher Zhang immediately received the link. He couldn't sleep either, so he left the room lightly and walked into the study. Put on your glasses and open the live room. The first thing I saw was, Coloring Landscapes. As a teacher, he didn't know how deeply impressed he was with this type of ancient masterpiece, but he recognized it at a glance. He was a little bewildered. How can that be? There is a picture in this world, where did this picture come from? He dialed the student's phone, and the student told him the detailed process of digging the ancient tomb of Lu Yuan. The other side, Lu Yuan also saw the doubts in the barrage, and said with a smile, this painting is indeed a coloring landscape, there is no doubt. I have heard of the painting in the world, it can't be said to be a fake, if you have to be more authentic, both are actually genuine. The real one is the real one, and the fake one is the fake one. How can both pictures be genuine? The one in the world is definitely a fake, I checked it, and it passed in when it was auctioned. And the reason why the film was passed, seems to be because there is no direct evidence to prove that it is genuine. That one is definitely a fake, this one of Laolu is the real one. Lu Yuan said, listen to me after I finish speaking, I say this, naturally, there is a basis for it. First of all, it is necessary to understand the historical background of this painting. This painting was given to the emperor by Huang Xisheng in the past, but when it was offered, it used the technique of stealing beams and replacing columns, splicing together copied paintings and real inscriptions, and then sent to the capital, and take the original as his own. When the coloring landscape map came out, it was identified, and finally the cutting marks were identified from the painting. What was cut was the inscription of the previous generation, as well as the information pointing to Wang Wei. So that's why the paintings in this world don't have the seal and pen of Wang Wei, the person who painted them. Because the information was cut out and replaced with a copy of the painting, which is the one I have in hand. That's why I say both of them can be considered genuine. While talking, Lu Yuan slowly rolled up the painting and put it away, saying, although this painting is from the Tang dynasty, it is very famous, and it is closely related to the return of Zhao Ji Shuizhong across the river during Qingming festival. It is called the three famous products in the mid-Ming dynasty. It is a pity that it is incomplete. If this is complete, it will not be as simple as 20 million. Is it like this? I checked it, and the appraisal results of that year did indeed show cutting marks. The reason for the unfinished shooting is because there is no information on the owner of the painting, and I am not sure whether it is Wang Wei's. It's confirmed now, it's a semi-authentic. Old Lu lost, I'm so happy. How come the paintings for the emperor are in this tomb? What's the identity of the tomb owner? You can even get the tribute. I guess it was stolen. I think too much. Before the painting enters the palace, you can steal the beam and change the column. When you enter the palace, you can steal one and try it. Lu Yuan is also curious, why is this painting here? There is only one possibility that the paintings flowed out of the palace, or in the prosperous era of the country. Reward. This painting was given as a reward. He couldn't help looking at the chicken pot cup in the box. This chicken pot cup was probably also given as a reward. So it is, so it is. When teacher Zhang listened to Lu Yuan's remarks, all the doubts lingering in his heart were immediately resolved. Lu Yuan put the rolled painting back into the box and walked towards the last box behind the coffin. Chapter 71. After a while, Lu Yuan stood in front of the last box. Crunch. Open the lid and place it against the wall. Walking back, looking down, this whole box is actually all books. From bottom to top, ancient books are neatly arranged and stuffed full. I'm going, so many ancient books, Lao Lu posted them again. Books aren't worth much, they're good for shit. Maybe it's 300 Tang poems. You managed to make me laugh. Lu Yuan picked up a book at random. Book. Attribute. Ming Dynasty. Value. 100,000. So cheap. This whole box is estimated to be in the millions. If you calculate it like this, even if you add the large vase at the entrance of the tomb, it will not be 500 million. Could the remaining bits and pieces of treasure be more expensive than a chicken pot? His eyes fell on the ancient book in his hand, and the title of the cover made him interested. Te Bai Yin Jing. Grip the grass. Lao Lu has dug up the exercises. Cow, there is actually a way to cultivate immortals. Fast forward to Shushan. Lu Yuan said speechlessly. This is the military book of the Tang dynasty. Bingshu. How did the Bingshu take the name of a fairy? Is this military book serious? Lu Yuan flipped a few pages and put it back. Get another copy. 100 strategies. It is also a military book. He squatted down, took out each book, read the title and put it back. 7 books of martial art, Journey of the Array, must be investigated in the altar. The books in this box are all military books. Lu Yuan was dumbfounded. I can't help looking at the coffin. Is there a military general buried here? Why are they all military books? Really hammered, this is a military general's tomb. Quickly open the coffin and see if there is any information on the identity of the tomb owner. 5. This tomb must have been stolen. How can anyone be buried without a monument? There are not so many good things that have been stolen. Lu Yuan went around to the 140 square in front of the coffin. At present, all the treasures on the bright side of the entire tomb have been inspected except for this coffin. The coffin was glowing with golden light, and he was not sure whether it was the value of the coffin itself, or the treasure inside the coffin. He went up and put his hands on the coffin. Coffin. Attribute. Ming Dynasty. Value. 800,000. The golden light disappeared. Okay, there is probably only a skeleton in the coffin, so it doesn't make sense to open it. Wait for the archaeological team to come over before opening, otherwise nothing will be left for them. He is afraid that Gu De Young's group will go crazy. I will not open the coffin today. After all, there is no archaeological certificate, so it is easy to be chased and scolded when it is opened. Lu Yuan teased himself, turned and walked away. Close at hand, don't you drive. This coffin is not open today, I can't sleep. Come on, you haven't seen enough dead bodies all night. Is there so much in the tomb? It feels so little. But it's worth a lot. I made a rough calculation, and the treasure I found now is almost worth 300 million. It's so scary. Hi, hiss, hiss. The live broadcast room brushed the hiss that sucked in cold air. Lu Yuan walked towards the scattered treasures in the tomb, and when he reached the place, there were flat stone bricks under his feet, and only his eyes could not see anything abnormal. Lu Yuan came to be interested. He did not rush to excavate, but said, "There is something wrong with this tomb." Netizens were stunned when the remarks came out. What's wrong? Have Zongzi, you can't be so scary at night, Lao Lu. Lu Yuan said. Judging from the structure and size of the tomb, the owner of the tomb is definitely not a businessman but an official. The businessman may be able to obtain the porcelain in the palace, but it is impossible to obtain the coloring landscape map. The funerary objects in the tomb are very rich, but don't you think it's strange? Lu Yuan asked himself and answered. The position of these 3 stone pillars is similar to a tribute, and the things placed on them should be equal to the position in front of the tomb owner. There is no problem with the tomb talisman brick, this thing is indeed very important. But the cricket is a little tricky, and putting gold in a vase makes it even more fascinating. That big box is full of gold, so why put it here? A person who can take out a box of gold and silver jewelry at will, but puts crickets and gold on the tribute pillar, which is not in line with the identity of the tomb owner. And there is only a painting and a chicken pot cup in the other box. It can also be seen that the tomb owner also knows the value of these 2 things and attaches great importance to them. On the whole, the treasures in the tomb can't be said to be few, it can even be said to be quite a lot. But, he turned around and said, this tomb is missing one thing, the most important thing. Everyone was fascinated. Just when someone wanted to ask something, Lu Yuan has already continued, something that proves the identity of the tomb owner. With the financial resources displayed by the tomb owner, the official position during his lifetime will not be low, and such a person must be buried with an epitaph, but there is none here. There is no trace of tomb robbers here, so there are only 2 possibilities. The first is that there is nothing about the identity of the tomb owner. But this is very unscientific and makes no sense. Second, hidden. Lu Yuan raised his head abruptly and looked at the coffin. The tomb is not big or small, and the place where things can be hidden must be limited to this area. Although I haven't opened the coffin, I don't need to open it, I know that there will definitely not be in the coffin. Why? Finally, someone took advantage of the gap to ask. Lu Yuan said, it's very simple. Since it is necessary to hide, it must be hidden in a place that cannot be seen by the naked eye. If someone robs the tomb, the coffin will definitely be opened, so there will be no inside the coffin. Actually, it can be seen from the treasures on the bright side that the owner of the tomb has already prepared to be robbed after his death. These treasures are all given to tomb robbers. These things are good things in the eyes of tomb robbers, but they are not worth mentioning to the tomb owner. After analyzing this, Lu Yuan was also curious about the identity of the tomb owner. Although he didn't know what the hidden golden light was, he felt that his analysis was absolutely right. The value of the hidden treasure is probably no worse than that of the chicken pot. The analysis is eloquent, as if this is the case. I think Lao Lu's analysis is very reasonable, it's really not normal to put a cricket jar on the stone pillar. Who put gold in a vase? It's strange that you can understand the thinking of the ancients. It's hard to say the rest, but it's really abnormal for a tomb of such a size to have no identity information of the tomb owner. Lu Yuan took out his hoe again, and while walking inside the tomb, he said, the ancient tomb is so big, there are not many places to hide things, just underground or on the walls. Dong dong. Every time he took a step, he had to knock on the stone brick with a hoe, inch by inch, without missing a single bit. Boom. An empty voice sounded. Lu Yuan stopped immediately, looked at the golden light under his feet and said with a smile, I found it. Vorge. It's so special. Old Lou's brain is very useful. A group of tomb owners are so miserable, it is estimated that he would never have imagined that the things he had carefully hidden would be dug up by others. This time, I have really learned a lot. It turns out that there are so many things about digging graves. Old Lou's IQ is a bit against the sky. Although seeing him making money is very jealous, this time, everyone is really convinced. Not everyone can earn this kind of money. At least they ask themselves, if it was themselves, they would never consider whether there were treasures hidden underground. No, if it were me, I'm afraid I wouldn't even be able to discover this ancient tomb. For the first time, they felt that the gap between people was so huge, even bigger than the gap between people and Xiaolu. Lu Yuan squatted on the ground, put the hoe aside, and drew out the wild knife. Tap lightly with the handle of the knife to determine the approximate range of things stored under your feet. Knock knock, he was a little surprised. The things on the ground are a bit big. The open space under your feet is about half a meter wide and 2 meters long. Puff, he inserted the tip of the knife into the gap of the tomb brick, and with a click, a tomb brick was pried up. Then the second block, the third block. After about 10 minutes, a tomb brick was neatly placed aside. 2 meters long and half a meter wide, an underground storage room with a depth of half a meter appeared. Inside was a wooden box about 1 meter 5 in length. You dug up the sword. Sword attribute, Ming Dynasty. Value, 5 million. Open it up and see. Blind guessing is painting. Paintings won't be here. Lu Yuan opened the wooden box, and a long sword with a scabbard lay quietly in the box. I'm going, it's a weapon. Murder weapon from the ancient tomb. Lao Lu, be careful. What does it mean to bury a sword in the ground? Lu Yuan took out the sword, which was very heavy. The scabbard is made of copper, with intricate and delicate cloud patterns on it, and the hilt is made of copper and iron. From the point of view of the shape, this is a saber used by the minister. Zhang. Lu Yuan put his thumb against the hilt and flicked upwards, grabbed the hilt and drew it, making a sound of sword cries. The sword was unsheathed, and the blade was partially rusted. No matter how good the steel is, it is helpless in the face of time. He sheathed the sword, put it back in the wooden box, picked up the hoe and continued to walk towards the next treasure spot. Dong dong. Found another place. After determining the size of the burial site, Lu Yuan knew that the same weapon was buried underneath. A quarter of an hour later, the last brick was pried open, looking at the wooden box below, and the system prompt, as expected. When the box is opened, it is still a sword. An hour later, Lu Yuan had already pried open the 6th treasure point. Still a sword. He stood up, looked at the positions of the 6 swords, and said, these 6 swords surround the coffin, which should be equivalent to some kind of formation used to guard the coffin. He glanced at the remaining treasure spots, and there were 4 more. The locations of these 4 treasure points are all between the coffin and the stone pillar. 3 of them are just half a meter behind the stone pillar. The 4th is half a meter in front of the coffin. This arrangement is interesting. Wherever he went, he came to the cricket jar first. Dong dong. There's one here too. Squat down and start to pry bricks very skillfully. Lao Lu is getting more and more professional. With proof, you can do whatever you want. Shit, it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning, so I have to go to work tomorrow. Please leave. Your boss may also be staying up late. At this point in time, the popularity of the live broadcast room has not decreased at all, which is quite outrageous. Soon, the last brick was pried open. This treasure spot is only half a meter long and wide, which is much smaller than the previous weapon's hiding place. You dug up the golden book and iron voucher. Gold book and iron voucher attribute, Ming Dynasty. Value, 80 million. Lu Yuan groaned inwardly. Golden books and iron vouchers. Is there such a thing in this tomb? What is the identity of the tomb owner? His face was calm, and he took out the box below. Look, the boxes containing golden books and iron coupons are higher grade than the boxes containing swords. The Wangwali wood box, in the past few years, can still see a faint yellow color, which is pleasing to the eye. He put the box on the ground and opened it gently. A bent, rusted piece of iron, quietly placed in a box. On the front of the iron sheet, there are beautiful letters written with gold paint, which are densely packed and cover the entire iron sheet. Much of the writing is blurred and covered in rust. As soon as this piece of iron came out, the live broadcast room exploded. Warge, Warge, Warge. Pill Book Iron Voucher. This is the Pill Book Iron Voucher. This tomb owner is definitely a high-ranking official, and a great hero of the founding of the dynasty. Well, if you don't understand it, ask, what is the Iron Pill Book? The gold medal for saving death. Brother, why don't you know this? You don't know the history, so you've always seen time travel dramas, right? There is Chunghwa porcelain in the tomb. How could it be the minister of the founding dynasty? Lu Yuan was also a little confused when he looked at the golden book and iron coupon. Rao is because he has the system to help him and can know more information than the average person. But at the moment, my head is also a mess. This thing, the golden book and iron coupon, is said to be a gold medal to avoid death, but it is simply a life reminder. The point is that, apart from the group of ministers who founded the Ming dynasty, he had never heard of anyone who had won the gold medal for avoiding death. The descendants of those ministers. But many of them were raided and destroyed. In the end, only Tang He and Hua Gao survived. He held up the box and stared at the words on the death-free gold medal one by one. The merits of the hero must be recorded on the iron scroll, and who this death-free gold medal belongs to can be known directly by looking at it. Although a lot of handwriting is corroded, it can still be seen roughly. After reading it, Lu Yuan was dumbfounded. This turned out to be Li Shanchang's death-free gold medal. This special girl is outrageous. He turned the box around, and there were 4 words on the back of the iron scroll: rebellion is not a crime. It means that if you have the intention of treason, the death-free gold medal is invalid. Looking at the grass on the screen, Lu Yuan said, this is Li Shanchang's death-free gold medal. Then, rip the grass more. He covered the box and said, I can't figure it out either. This tomb, it should be unlikely to be Li Shanchang's tomb. It was all chopped up by the whole family. Where did the tomb come from? Big news, absolutely big news. Look and see if you can find the identity information of the tomb owner. Heal the spirits for Grandpa at night. After 1 o'clock in the morning, the popularity of Weibo is increasing. Every time Lu Yuan digs up something, it will be immediately uploaded to the internet. As soon as the golden book iron roll came out, the whole Weibo followed the frying pan. Museum-related staff across the country were also awakened by phone calls. 1.2. He's got the gold medal of avoidance. He must be handed in. No, he bought it, he must buy it. This is a treasure-level cultural relic of the town hall. 5. Don't go to sleep. Get up quickly. I booked a ticket. It's 3 in the morning. Hurry up. Burial chamber. Under the urging of everyone, Lu Yuan continued to search. He did not go to the second stone pillar, but approached the coffin. He wanted to find information about the identity of the tomb owner. Of the 3 remaining treasures, this one is closest to the coffin. In his opinion, if something related to identity is hidden, it will inevitably be the closest to the coffin. Soon, he came to the treasure point in front of the coffin. Dong dong, there's something down here too. He crouched down and began to pry bricks. Many archaeological teams were very uncomfortable watching Lu Yuan pry bricks at first. But now they are also curious, plus Lu Yuan's technology really has nothing to say. Even if the archaeologists come, they still have to find these things hidden in the ground and pry them out. What's more, it's just a few bricks. Even if it's broken, it doesn't matter. This treasure spot is also about half a meter in length and width. As the last brick is pried open, a box different from the others appears. This wooden box is about 40 centimeters long and wide, but it is more than half a meter high. The box is made of Jinxinan wood, with gold inlaid at the 4 corners, and the high-end feeling will overflow. Lu Yuan put both hands against the 2 sides of the box and brought it up little by little. At the same time, information from the system emerges. You dug a few. Several hands. Attribute. Ming Dynasty. Value. Lu Yuan dragged the wooden box's hand and stopped halfway. The system's prompt made him very confused. What kind of stuff is this? No, how many is this? How many handfuls did I dig? Lu Yuan gently placed the wooden box on the ground. It was close to a half-meter high wooden box. It was carved with cloud patterns on all sides. The words prompted by the system still remained in Lu Yuan's mind. A few. Why did I even dig this thing? Is this baby? Why is there a question mark after the value? Priceless treasure. No, it should be that the system can't give a specific price. After all, it is a few from the Ming dynasty, and it is indeed a treasure that can be kept until now. This box is so beautiful, it looks like a baby. I don't care anymore, I can treat Lao Lu calmly even if he digs a zombie. Those who can be buried in the ground are definitely not ordinary treasures. Lao Lu quickly opens them up. Lu Yuan took a light breath, resisted the strange feeling in his heart, and slowly opened the box. It is probably too old, the box and the lid are very tight, and it took a lot of effort to loosen it and then open it a little bit. The bottom of the box is a layer of dark yellow cushion. It's brocade, and it's golden brocade. This color, like the dragon pattern, could not be used indiscriminately in that era. This tomb owner is definitely someone from the palace. Suddenly, an electric light flashed in Lu Yuan's mind, and he thought of something. Chicken pot cup, coloring landscape map, military book, and these few. A lot of information is mixed, all pointing in one direction. A word popped out of my mind. Eunuch. This is a tomb of a eunuch. He suppressed his guesses and stared at the box. On the brocade is a copper stupa. The stupa has 7 layers and is hollowed out. Inside is a roll of things also wrapped in brocade. Don't ask, there are only a few in here. I'm going. Golden Tower. This is definitely a national treasure level cultural relic, right? It must be. The chicken pot cup is probably not as expensive as this pagoda. There seems to be something in the pagoda. The baby that can be placed in the pagoda is probably more expensive than the pagoda. The crowd was excited. This is a pagoda. None of the cultural relics of this shape are cheap. No matter where you throw it, it is the existence of the town hall. Even if the palace museum is placed, it is estimated that they can compete for the top 3. Lu Yuan observed for a while and said, "It's not gold, it's copper." Then he found an excuse from below the pagoda and opened it. The pagoda was separated from its base, and the contents inside fell into Lu Yuan's hands. Heavy, is quite heavy. This kind of thing is wrapped in brocade, and a gold string is tied several times. From the outside, it doesn't look like much. He put the pagoda back in the wooden box, holding the brocade. Gently and professionally, he untied the tying rope, and a drab, cylindrical object lay in it. The drone is aimed at the shooting, and tens of millions of netizens have a glimpse. What is this? I can't see it with my countless eyes. Appraisal is a technical job. Lao Lu, please start your performance. At this moment, all kinds of appraisers and archaeologists all over the country are watching. But, no one could recognize it. Teacher Ji Yu, what is this? I haven't seen it. Ji Yu DeYoung shook his head and said immediately, maybe Xiao Lu knows. Lu Yuan's professionalism has been recognized by him. In his opinion, if Lu Yuan is willing to take the path of archaeology, his future achievements are limitless. Lu Yuan stared at the thing in his hand for a while, and seeing the anxious and impatient netizens, he finally said, "This is a dick. Speak well and don't scold people. Old Lu, you have dug other people's graves anyway, so you should respect them somewhat. Thousands of people are watching, and the little devil and the stick are also watching. Your words are too vulgar. How can the staff translate it?" "It's easy to translate, Xiaoshihachi," Lu Yuan said. "I mean, it's a few sticks." There was a question mark in the live broadcast room, and everyone was stunned. The experts were also stunned. WTF? How many roots have you dug? Lu Yuan looked at the coffin beside him and said, "It seems that this is a tomb of an eunuch." In ancient times, eunuchs had to cleanse their bodies before entering the palace, and their lifebloods would be preserved. Usually, they were placed in boxes filled with lime. The limes would absorb water and prevent them from rotting. When the eunuchs got old, they would redeem the lifebloods. When I come back, I will be buried together when I die. This one in my hand is just a few, it is the lifeblood. Although nothing like an epitaph was dug up, this thing is more directional. The identity of the tomb owner has come out, eunuch. No one will be idle to bury the lifeblood of others with themselves. And after the coffin is opened for inspection, it can be determined whether the lifeblood is the owner of the tomb. The live room was quiet for a few seconds. What the hell, how many roots have you dug? Brothers, brush up 666. 666. You can dig up all kinds of ghosts, I'm dying of laughter. A group of two mourners who hide so well have not escaped the fate of being dug up. Looking at it made me panic. My lower body is cold. Whose dick is this? And it's packed in a pagoda. However, Lu Yuan looked at the lifeblood in his hand again and said, judging from the size, it should be the palace that he entered when he was a child. He put the lifeblood back, closed the lid, stood up slowly, walked towards the next treasure spot, and said, judging from the burial objects in the tomb, this is probably a great eunuch. The coloring landscape picture and the chicken pot cup, these two things are placed in a separate box, which shows that he attaches great importance. I guess these two things are likely to be rewarded. And to be able to get these two rewards, it is tentatively speculated that this should be the eunuch during the Chunghwa period. In addition, around the coffin is the Saber Town tomb, and the box of military books. I have almost guessed the identity of this eunuch. As Lu Yuan analyzed it step by step, an image became clearer and clearer in his mind. So you guessed it. I'll go, Lao Lu, stop digging, be a detective, and help my friend catch the mistress. So which eunuch is that? Don't give a shit, tell me quickly. It's said that it was during the Chunghwa period, so you can check it yourself online. Lu Yuan smiled, but he didn't continue to sell off, and directly said a name, Wang Ji. Who is Wang Ji? Scumbag. Great eunuch Wang Ji. Indicates that you haven't heard of it. Wang Ji has never heard of it. Has Xicheng heard of it? The great eunuch who founded the Western Factory, Wang Ji, the admiral of the Western Factory. Hold the grass, rain into the fields. What Yuhuadian? That's a movie, but the original form of Yuhuadian is indeed Wang Ji. Isn't it impossible? The dignified tomb of the admiral of the West Factory is so shabby. Dong dong, Lu Yuan has come to the next treasure spot. He squatted down and began to pry bricks, with skillful movements and ease. While prying bricks, he said, Admiral Xicheng is a thing of the past, and there are not many great eunuchs who will end well. Wang Ji is the palace that Chunghwa entered for 3 years, and he served concubine Wan, that is, Emperor Shanzong of Ming Dynasty. The one who designed the chicken pot himself. This big eunuch became famous at a young age. He was only 15 or 16 years old when he served as the admiral of Xicheng, and he was only in his early 20s when he was banished from Beijing. Don't look at it in the past few years, but in the past few years, this Lord Admiral once reached the level of an extremely personable minister. But success is also young, and defeat is also young. When Xicheng was established in the early years, it was for meritorious deeds, forming a party for selfishness, and arguing with Jinyue, and repeatedly created appalling injustices so as to invite credit and exchange power. At that time, the rights of Xicheng can be said to be the real first beheading and then the imperial power. Charter. How big is the right? It is so big that it is possible to directly arrest Beijing officials of the third rank or above without going through the emperor. This kind of right makes the whole court and people feel uneasy and panic. Later, things were simple. Wang Ji was attacked by the minister's impeachment, among which the most powerful impeachment was the scholar Shang Shui. After that, Xicheng was withdrawn. However, in the 13th year of Chunghwa, Emperor Shanzong of the Ming Dynasty restored the West Factory, and Wang Ji was still the admiral. After that was the glorious moment when he moved from the West Factory to the battlefield. Although he is a eunuch, he has built the military industry many times. From the 15th year of Chunghwa to the 18th year of Chunghwa, in just 3 years, he was appointed as the guardian of Datong, and he once dominated the world. In the 18th year of Chunghwa, the West Factory was dismissed for the second time, and it never reopened. In the 19th year of Chunghwa, Wang Ji was transferred from the Yingtian Imperial Horse Prison, and then in the 11th year of Hongji, the Emperor Shaozong called Wang Ji back to Beijing, and then he died. This tomb was also built during his lifetime. I am afraid that it was built here for fear of revenge by those who offended him back then. It is not bad that a eunuch who has been demoted can build a tomb of this size. Everyone listened to the story as if they were finished. Is this really a eunuch? Is the eunuch so fierce? No wonder there are so many military books. This guy is not a eunuch. I am afraid that he is not a military general. It's not that exaggerated. His military ability is not as good as that of military generals in the past dynasties. However, to be in power at such a young age, the kung fu and mentality of digging into the camp is indeed extraordinary, and he is born to be a master of scheming. Whether it's Wang Ji's tomb is uncertain, it's hard to say just by a few Click. The last brick was pried open. This is the treasure point next to the second stone pillar, facing the coffin. Under the tomb brick is a stone tablet half a meter long and 40 centimeters wide. On the stone tablet, there are densely engraved characters. You dug up the stone monument. Stone tablet attribute, Ming Dynasty. Value, 15 million. Lu Yuan took out the steel, which was quite heavy, and gently placed it on the ground. On the stone tablet, the words are like mosquitoes and flies, but it is very clear, without a trace of damage. Lu Yuan just glanced at it and smiled. It seems that my analysis is correct, it is indeed Wang Ji's tomb. Under the camera, the words on the stone tablet were all presented in the live broadcast room. This is an epitaph, to be precise, there is only an inscription without an inscription. Zhiduo wrote in prose, narrating the deceased's name, place of origin, and brief biography. Ming summarizes the whole chapter in rhyme, mainly evaluating the life of the deceased. This stele has no aspirations and no inscription. It seems that the eunuch doesn't want these comments. After all, if you really want to say it, Wang Ji is a traitor. Although the history books are half-hearted about him, it was not a world of great contention at that time. His merits, compared to the traitorous behavior, can't be compared. It's really Admiral West Factory. Only after reading the epitaph did I realize how much this eunuch hangs. If I can build a West Factory when I'm 15 or 16, the ancestral graves won't be allowed to emit green smoke. It's useless to hang it again, it will become soft after a few years. Those few years are enough for a lifetime, that's the West Factory. Lu Yuan went to the last treasure spot and smashed the bricks. 10 minutes later, the tomb brick was pried open, and a dark brown wooden box was taken out by Lu Yuan. This box is not too small, it's about the same size as the enlarged baby's box. The box was opened, and Lu Yuan saw a side seal. You dug up the official seal. Official seal attribute, Ming Dynasty. Value, 100 million. Brothers, good stuff. Lu Yuan picked up the official seal and said, this should be the official seal of the West Factory. 5. If Lao Lu can say it's a good thing, it's definitely a good thing. The official seal of the West Factory. Come on, the TV series has become reality. Is this thing worth as much as a chicken pot? I'm afraid it's really comparable. This is the official seal of the West Factory, and the unit of valuation must be 100 million, right? The tomb is not big, there are really many good things, the big eunuch even keeps the official seal, aren't you afraid of being beheaded? How did he bring this thing out? It doesn't have to be from the West Factory, it could also be the official seal of the Imperial Horse Supervisor. Yao Xian, as the Admiral of the West Factory, can he be buried with the seal of the Imperial Magistrate after his death? Is that right? I said, isn't there a seal next to it? As long as you take a look, you won't be arguing. What is sealant? Sealing mud is a dry, hard mass of mud covered with ancient seals. Lu Yuan picked up the seal beside him, which was marked with a regular script. Most people really don't understand the inscriptions. Although it is regular script, it is written like Taoist talismans, which are completely composed of horizontal and vertical or curved strokes. Lu Yuan said softly, the Imperial Commissioner has sent eunuch Guan Feng to work at the Xicheng official school. True or false? What is this word? It recognizes me, I don't recognize it. What kind of ghost is this? Lao Lu, are you really fooling me? Lu Yuan put down the seal and said, the seal on the seal is the official seal of the West Factory, I'll look at the inscription on the seal. He grabbed the official seal 140. The official seal was made of silver, with 2 square buttons, and the sides of the seal were about 10 centimeters long. There is also a line of inscriptions on the back of the printing pad, 13 years of Chunghua, made by the Ministry of Rights. The time is right, it is indeed the time when the West Factory was established. He turned the official seal upside down and looked at the front of the seal. The negative script is reversed, modern simplified characters are easy to read, and traditional characters can be recognized after a while. But it's not easy to recognize this type of italic style. Even Lu Yuan stared at it for 5 minutes before nodding, it's the official seal of the West Factory. He put down the official seal and was in a good mood. I didn't dig in vain this night, and the harvest was huge. Is it really the official seal of the West Factory? Is it very valuable, Lao Lu? How about we draw a prize? I want a few. Lao Lu, give me a few, I don't dislike it at all. I think you want a few pagodas outside. Look again, is there any other place to hide the baby? Lu Yuan stood up and said, well, I'll look for it again. To make a full play, he picked up the hoe and searched inch by inch. More than 200 square meters, whether it is big or small, it is already 3 o'clock in the morning. No, it looks like there are so many things. It's not too early, everyone, go to bed early, it won't be broadcast tonight. He got up and walked towards the cave, but he didn't bring anything in the tomb. There is no need to bring it, and we will talk about it when the tomb is opened. The hole is so big that it is not easy to handle. Half an hour later, he came to the tomb. Looking up, the Loyang shovel tied with ropes was still hanging on the robbery hole. Grab the rope, climb to the robbery hole, grab the edge of the robbery hole with both hands, and easily support it with a bending force of both arms. After clapping his hands, Lu Yuan said, everyone, rest early, I have to take a nap too, I'm probably busy tomorrow. The tomb is a robbery. No, the excavation is over. But he almost didn't need to guess to know, it is estimated that a large number of people rushed here with banknotes. He glanced at the mountain shrouded in the dark night, thinking that it would take a few more days. He walked under a big tree 300 meters away from the ancient tomb, sprinkled the repellent, and fell asleep. The drone landed aside and photographed the tomb. Time passed by minute by minute. About 5 kilometers away from Lu Yuan, a group of 4 men rushed towards the ancient tomb. Every time they walked a certain distance, they would stop, turn on their mobile phones to take a look at Lu Yuan's live broadcast, determine the direction, and move on. Take a few minutes of rest, said one of the men. The other people said, then take a 5-minute break, drink some water, and eat something. 5 minutes later, several people stood up and continued on their way. It's already 3:20, so I have to arrive before dawn. Old Zhang, Old Wu, wait for the two of you to go down to the tomb, and I will meet you on the pillars. The chicken pot cup, the official seal, the pagoda and the death-free gold medal, these things will come up first. What about the big vase in the tomb passage? That's a good thing, at least tens of millions. It's too big to take away. The cricket jar is easy to take with you. A few people did the assignment work in advance as they walked. These people are from nearby county towns, some of them run smoking hotels, some run small supermarkets, and they all have several suites in the county town. On the surface, they are ordinary people who are honest and responsible, but in fact their first pot of money was obtained by stealing and abducting. When Lu Yuan first discovered Da Qinghua, they were moved. A group of people got together, discussed briefly, made a plan, grabbed the equipment and drove directly over. The goal is simple, get the big blue and white away. If this thing can be sold, the rest of my life can be used everywhere. Although it is not a professional tomb robber, everyone has dug the tomb for you, all you have to do is come and take it. Such a simple task, a fool would do it. They kept coming towards Lu Yuan all the way, and had been walking for 6 or 7 hours. More than 10 kilometers, it is still deep in the mountains and forests. For ordinary people, let alone 6 or 7 hours, even 16 or 7 hours may not be able to walk. They also took a sigh of relief. At this moment, the 4 people's legs and feet were sore, but they still endured it. Along the way, their live broadcast is open, and they are always watching Lu Yuan's dynamics. Seeing that Lu Yuan entered the main tomb and kept discovering treasures, they were overjoyed and could not wait to rush to the ancient tomb immediately. Originally thought that there was only one big blue and white, but I didn't expect that there are so many good things in the tomb. They can't imagine how much the rest of their lives can be if they get 2 or 3 pieces and sell them. How did the anchor do it? Dizzy. He's still streaming. Cover your face and smash the drone. 4:30 in the morning. It was still dark in the mountains, and Lu Yuan was already asleep. After the tomb digging was over, the live broadcast room dropped rapidly, and there were only less than 30,000 people left at the moment. Most of them are related to archaeological teams and museums. Less than 3 kilometers away from Lu Yuan, there was a flashlight shining. This is where the tigers are buried, just ahead, almost there. Take a 5-minute break, drink some water, and replenish your strength. 5 minutes later, the 4 set off again. The ancient tomb was right in front of them, and the 4 of them were full of motivation. The road was less than 3 kilometers, and they walked for an hour. At 5:30 in the morning, the sky was slightly bright. It's dawn, so hurry up. Don't worry, it took us so long to go up the mountain, even if someone came, we would not be able to enter the mountain until evening. Cover your face, don't talk later, smash the drone first. A few of us will go together in a while, this anchor is very physically strong, and 1 or 2 people may not be able to do it. Several people squatted in the grass 100 meters away from Lu Yuan, took out masks to cover their faces, and quickly made plans. Done yet? Don't worry, let's take a look at the drone's camera first. The camera is facing the ancient tomb. Let's go around here. Stop smashing the drone, and hold down the person directly. If the target of the drone is too small, it may not be able to hit. It is more convenient and faster to directly bypass the shooting range of the drone and pass from the back, and hold down the person to stun. It's still brother you. Put all the sticks down. Okay, don't make a sound, just take your steps lightly. The 4 of them stood up, circled to a position that the drone couldn't photograph, and slowly approached Lu Yuan. Just when they were less than 20 meters away from Lu Yuan, Xiao Lu, who was lying in Lu Yuan's arms, suddenly opened his eyes and climbed up, looking towards the 4 of them. 666. Xiao Lu called out. What are you doing? Lu Yuan muttered in confusion, his eyelids moved, and seeing the light of the sky, he said, it's still early, I'll sleep later. Wait, there seems to be something wrong. Did you just see something? Lu Yuan suddenly opened his eyes, and this time he saw clearly. 20 meters away, 4 men tiptoed towards them like monkeys. Seeing the masks on their faces, Lu Yuan immediately woke up. Grass, tomb robber. No, it's a thief. It must have come to the ancient tomb. Is there such a coincidence? Lu Yuan woke up suddenly, leaving the 4 of them stunned. The next second, Lu Yuan heard the second man on the left whisper, hold him down. The 4 of them turned from stillness and rushed up immediately. Grass. Lu Yuan roared angrily, and then the 4 of them saw a scene that stunned them. I saw Lu Yuan slap the ground with his right palm, and his half-lying body seemed to be pulled up by an invisible force. A beautiful 360-degree rotation, and Lu Yuan stood on the ground. If they weren't busy subduing Lu Yuan, they all wanted to stop and applaud. He quickly glanced at the 4 of them, and saw no offensive weapons. His trouser legs and shoes were all muddy, and his eyes were tired. Lu Yuan snorted. What are you doing? Thinking about the good things below. I robbed your grandfather. Tens of thousands of night owls in the live broadcast room heard the sudden movement, but they only heard the sound and did not see anyone, but they still heard something from what Lu Yuan said. Someone robbed. Old forest in the deep mountains. Who is robbery? Lao Lu is talking in his sleep. Is it possible that I met a tiger? You should be excited to meet Lao Lu, the tiger. It is a South China tiger, it is definitely worth more alive than dead. The 4 of them were briefly dazed, and Brother Yu said, don't beep with him, hold him down. The 4 of them rushed up again. Although they didn't have any weapons, the number of the 4 big men crushed him to death. Blink had already rushed up, but Lu Yuan suddenly turned around and ran away. The 4 were overjoyed. Lao Zhang couldn't help shouting, aren't you crazy, don't run. When he shouted, the netizens suddenly became spirited. Hold the grass, there are really people. Where did the people in the deep mountains come from? Stupid, he must have come to the ancient tomb. Just as netizens were speculating and analyzing, Lu Yuan's figure suddenly appeared in the live broadcast room. He glanced in the direction of the drone and stopped. Then he looked at the 4 who were chasing after him. Suddenly his left leg stepped back, he slowly lowered his waist and dismounted, his right hand raised his palm like a knife, and his left hand lifted the hem of the clothes. Well, there is no hem. Put on a traditional kung fu starting position. Seeing his action, several people were stunned again. What is this kid doing? Shut up and don't talk, the drone captured it. 95. Brother Yu said in a low voice, feeling very sad. I originally wanted to solve people directly, but it turned out to be like this. They couldn't control much, they covered their faces and wore hats, and their daughter-in-law might not recognize her when she came. Superior. The 4 rushed up again. Seeing that one of them rushed over first, he smashed with his fist. Lu Yuan didn't retreat or hide, and with his right hand, he grabbed the man's wrist with a snap, followed by a twist and a click. After pulling back, the man just felt the pain in his wrist, and before he could say, "Ah," he lost his balance under his feet, and directly planted a dog gnawing at Lu Yuan's feet. Lu Yuan didn't even look at it, just raised his foot to the back of the man's neck. The man rolled his eyes and passed out. The other three had already rushed up, and they were all dumbfounded when they saw this scene. However, what made them even more dumbfounded was still behind. To deal with one person, Lu Yuan took a step forward, clenched his right fist and hid it at his waist, and the moment he stepped forward, he punched the second person. With a bang, the man was punched by Lu Yuan, his stomach and tongue stuck out, his body bowed into a shrimp, his feet rubbed 2.5 meters long marks on the soil, and he fell to the ground. Following Lu Yuan, he slid to avoid the fists of the two, and moved around the back of the other person with agility, raised his hand like a whip, and slapped the man directly on half of the face. Call directly. The last kick kicked him in the back and stomped him to the ground. Lu Yuan stepped on the man, looked at the last man, and hooked his fingers. "Come on, don't be a coward." The man raised his fist and panicked. "What have I experienced in just a few seconds? How could he hit like that? You are a grave digger, why are you so unprofessional?" Before a few people set off, all accidents were taken into account. They thought that there would never be any accident in this operation, but an accident happened. Or an accident they never thought of. Brother, we are just passing by, misunderstanding, it's all wrong." Boom. Lu Yuan had already caught up with him in 2 steps, and kicked him over with 1 kick. Looking down at the man with a twisted face covering his heart, Lu Yuan said, "Misunderstanding or something, wait for the police to come and tell the police." He took out his mobile phone, clicked on the drone to follow automatically, then walked towards the tree, picked up the rope, and walked back towards the 4. In the live broadcast room, there are less than 30,000 netizens, and there is not a single barrage at this moment. They were shocked by what had just happened. What did I see? Old Lu beats 4, and the other side was beaten. Why did I just worry about Lao Lu? Am I a fool? It's shocked my mother for 100 years that Lao Lu is so good at fighting. Old Lu has always been able to fight well. Have you forgotten those 2 murderers last time? I didn't forget, but that time was different, this time there were 4. Netizens' Tianling guy will be shaken open. Lu Yuan had already tied up the 4 of them, and took off their masks by the way, revealing their true colors. After tying up, go back to the big tree and continue to sleep. Lu Yuan fell asleep and woke up stunned. After waking up, you look at me and I look at you, with a blank face. At the foot of the mountain, when the man in the car saw this scene, he sat up in fright, started the car, turned the steering wheel, and left. The sky is getting brighter and brighter, and more netizens are gathering in the live broadcast room. The news that Lu Yuan encountered 4 robbers also made a hot search. Someone went to pick Lao Lu's peaches. Go and see, Lao Lu is in a mess. What the hell is a dozen? Isn't he digging graves? Someone wanted to steal the ancient tomb, but Lao Lu discovered it, and they fought. Lu Yuan slept until 10 in the morning. He didn't worry about the 4 of them breaking free at all. The knot he tied was absolutely professional, not something these scumbags could get rid of. After getting up, rinse your mouth and eat. During the period, I didn't take care of those 4 people. After eating and drinking, Lu Yuan suddenly remembered the corpse of the tomb robber yesterday. He took out his phone and called the police. No need for him to report, the police are already on their way. He called Li Botao again. Director Li, where have you been? It's already down the mountain. That's not until tonight. Night, about the same. Li Botao didn't say anything, he felt that he might not be able to arrive at night. More than 10 kilometers of mountain road, non-stop walking, it is estimated that it will be until the early morning. After hanging up the phone, Fang Hai called in, Xiao Lu, keep the chicken pot for me, I'll be there soon. Brother Fang, are you here too? I left last night, and it's already there, you wait, my plane will arrive soon. Plane, rented a helicopter and only remembered this when it was about to arrive, otherwise I would be here now. Rent it, that's fine. However, with Fang Hai's family background, it's not a big deal to buy it, right? Just hung up the phone, another call came in, an unfamiliar number. Don't ask, it's definitely the buyer. Idle is idle, take it. Hello, Mr. Liu, I'm Maotai. Lu Yuan thought it was a sales call. I'm sorry, I don't like drinking. Mr. Liu, I'm not advertising, I'm Dudu. Secretary who was speechless. What was this all about? Keep hitting. Seeing that it was still this number, Lu Yuan cut it off and threw it into the blacklist. It was still early, and it would take a while for Fang Hai to rent a helicopter. It's not a problem to wait like this, you have to do something yourself. I'm going to move things to the grave. After he finished speaking, he went down the tomb passage along the rope. When the archaeologists come, the first step must be to clear the soil outside the tomb. This is a huge amount of work, and just because of their urination, it cannot be completed in a day or two. Get the baby out first, and then turn back to Fang Hai to choose. And Fang Hai was definitely not the only one who came. It's best to shoot all these things on the spot, lest he make another trip. Lu Yuan was busy until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and finally moved everything to the tomb. After finishing his work, he climbed up and patted the dirt on his body. Turning to look at the 4 people on the ground, they have given up their struggle. With so many things, how does Lao Lu get down the mountain? One by one, sand sculptures, if people leave, they will be stolen at any time. At this moment, the sound of boom 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 sounded in the distance. Lu Yuan looked for the sound and looked over. A helicopter was flying towards this side. Z8, a heavy-duty helicopter produced by Chang Aircraft Industry Company, Limited, imitating and improving the French-designed Super Hornet helicopter, single rotor, 6 blades, equipped with 3 turboshaft engines, maximum takeoff weight of 13 tons, capable of carrying 37 passengers, cruising speed 232 km per hour, range 800 km. The moment I saw the helicopter, a string of information automatically emerged. Ordnance literacy is so terrifying. Lu Yuan couldn't help feeling that Fang Hai was really rich. Although this is a civilian helicopter, few people will rent it. The sound of the propeller got louder and louder, and the helicopter got closer and closer, and finally stopped above Lu Yuan's head. Lu Yuan saw that at the door of the helicopter, a man with an umbrella bag grabbed the door with both hands and looked down. Right here, I saw someone. Did you get it? Look for a nearby landing spot. After a while, the helicopter flew forward. Within 2 minutes, he saw the helicopter land slowly 2 kilometers away. There should be grass over there, suitable for landing. It came earlier than he thought. What was the movement just now? Old Lu, is there an earthquake? This is too bad, it's stealing antiques again, and it's earthquake. Lu Yuan said, there is no earthquake, there are helicopters. He didn't say much, sitting cross-legged by the robbery hole, grabbing a drink. 666. Give it to you. Throwing the drink to Xiao Lu, Lu Yuan took another bottle. After waiting for about half an hour, voices and footsteps came from a distance. Looking at the 4 men again, there was complete despair in their eyes. When they saw the helicopter, their shock far exceeded despair. We're just stealing something, we're not going to send out a helicopter, are we? It wasn't until Fang Hai and his party showed up that they were relieved when they saw that the other party was not wearing a police uniform. Come to think of it, what's the difference? Getting caught is just a matter of time. Little Lu, Fang Hai shouted from a distance, his voice filled with a happy atmosphere. There were more than 30 people in Fang Hai's party, and with so many people, Lu Yuan was a little stupid. Look carefully, yo, there are familiar faces. Lu Haisheng, Xu Zonglin, Ji Yudeyang, Li Botao, Lao Yang, Lao Yuan Kang. Fang Hai walked up and said, when the helicopter was waiting, they also arrived, so they brought them together. Otherwise, the group of archaeologists will go by themselves, and don't think of their destination until the early morning. Ji Yudeyang couldn't wait. Let's go to the ancient tomb to see the situation, and then come up to dig. Okay, you go to work. He watched everything that should be seen. It wasn't particularly necessary, and he didn't want to go down. These archaeological teams are so rich. Come here by helicopter. Sand sculpture, didn't you listen to Boss Fang? He brought it here. Boss Fang, I know that where there are treasures, there may not be an archaeological team, but there must be Boss Fang. Fang Heidao. Little Lu, where is that South China tiger? Go over there, just walk for half an hour. I'll go look at the tiger and talk to you later. Fang Heidao. Lao Yuan, Lao Yang, let's go together, don't think about picking up leaks while I'm not there. The three walked towards the South China Tiger. Lu Haisheng and Xu Zonglin stood beside the robbery cave, watching the archaeologists go down one by one. Little Lu, is everything under here? Well, it's all moved down. If I knew you were so professional, we wouldn't use it anymore. The two shook their heads with a wry smile. The two watched the live broadcast until they saw Lu Yuan dig out the last thing. Every time he finds a treasure, he can explain it clearly. From the material, to the firing method, to the historical allusions, it is at your fingertips. Some things, even they are not particularly sure, may have to check the information. Lu Yuan said, that can't be done. If you two don't come, who will identify it? Without expert certification, this thing is worthless. After a while, the last archaeologist also went down. They entered the cave one by one and walked towards the main tomb. Lu Yuan said, two teachers, let's go down too. It is good. After a while, they also came down. Standing in the tomb passage, looking at the nearly complete tomb passage, the two seemed to feel the scene when the tomb passage was built. That heavy sense of history comes from the pavement. Immediately, they saw the cultural relics neatly placed in front of them. Big blue and white, chicken pot cups. The same treasures, all intact. Xu Zonglin's main research direction is modern, and he also has some knowledge about the Ming dynasty, but he is not proficient. Lu Haisheng mainly focused on the research of porcelain cultural relics, but he handled more cultural relics from the Ming dynasty. What's more, many cultural relics do not form a system, and most appraisal experts are not only studying one direction. He walked towards the big blue and white, which is the one next to the tomb. It was in the Ming Chunghwa period. Before the words were finished, the sound of boom 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 sounded outside. Lu Yuan raised his head, looked up along the robbery hole, and saw a helicopter. Guys, who is this? Then another came, then a third, a fourth. Lu Yuan couldn't even count how many came. All he knew was that these cultural relics would not need to be shot at night. 10 minutes later, Fang Hai and the three returned. They saw the helicopter halfway there. Don't ask, they must have come to snatch these antiques. The South China Tiger didn't even look at it, so he quickly finalized what he was looking for. The three of them went down the robbery hole in turn. Fang Hai pointed at Daqinghua and said, Mr. Lu, how much is this vase? Lu Haisheng shook his head. The price of cultural relics here, you'd better ask the auction house to set the price, I am not qualified. He didn't say he couldn't, but he didn't have the qualifications. In this pile of cultural relics, there are no less than 3 national treasures. He really didn't dare to set prices arbitrarily. And many things have no auction records. He is a cultural relic identification, and this is a professional. Pricing, no doubt auction houses are more professional. Fang Hai patted his head, forgot to call Xiao Li. He took out his mobile phone and dialed Li Huakai's number. Hey, Xiao Li, you're here too. Just went up the mountain. Come down and wait, I'll let the helicopter pick you up. Fang Hai smiled and said, Little Li is here, I'll call the pilot. Soon, the call was over. At this time, the three of them were not in a hurry. It's no use worrying. If they can't set a price, they can't make a price. In the live broadcast room, the number of people gradually increased, and soon it rose to 20 million. Yesterday I watched Lao Lu dig, and today Lao Lu realized it. Old Lu, this has become a process, and as soon as it was dug out, someone came to buy it. If you can dig it, some people will buy it. It seems that a lot of bosses have gone, and I just heard the sound of the helicopter again. Lu Haisheng identified one by one. 20 minutes later, the sound of the propeller sounded overhead again. Fang Hai said, it should be Xiao Li who is here. As soon as he finished speaking, footsteps sounded outside. Soon, a group of people appeared above the robbery hole. When Lu Yuan looked up, he saw unfamiliar faces. Mr. Lu, is it convenient for me to come down? Mr. Lu, get to know you. Go down and get to know each other again, how uncomfortable it is to talk like this. Lu Yuan said, everyone, come down and be careful. After speaking, he took a few steps back, and Fang Hai and the others also backed away. There were a lot of people, maybe 70 or 80. Fortunately, the tomb passage is long enough to accommodate so many people. As soon as they saw a pile of antiques, they resisted the urge to look at them and greeted Lu Yuan first. "Mr. Lu, get to know me, my dear." A group of people introduced themselves, and Lu Yuan was a little dizzy. Fortunately, he drank many bottles of drinks, and his memory also improved, and he forcibly recorded it. "Mr. Li, I am Hu Guangyao, secretary to the chairman of Maotai Group." The man in his 30s said, "We talked on the phone earlier, but you didn't give me a chance to introduce myself." Lu Yuan had a suspicious look on his face, and he was suddenly stunned. "I remembered. The one that advertised. Oh, it's you. Hello, hello." Lu Yuan, BJBC, shook hands with him without embarrassment, but was still puzzled. "What are you doing with me as a wine seller?" After Hu Guangyao introduced himself, he stepped aside and did not speak. He came here for only one purpose, to buy wine. As for other cultural relics, it doesn't matter to me. Besides, he can't afford it. This time, there are several appraisal experts. Both Lu Haisheng and Xu Zonglin knew each other, and they were also worried about some things they could not identify. Or one can't be sure. Among these appraisal experts, the most famous one is Pan Zhongli. This one Lu Yuan has dealt with before. Old Pan is here too. "Come on, it's just right, I haven't really studied this golden book and iron coupon, you come and have a look." A group of experts circled around to identify the antiques, while the others stood by and chatted. Lu Yuan was the center of the crowd. Half an hour later, Li Huakai arrived. At 7 o'clock in the evening, a group of experts identified all the cultural relics. Immediately, a man in his 50s walked up and said, "Mr. Pan, is the official seal of the Fengshi factory real?" "Authentic," Pan Zhongli said. "A rare official seal, take it down if you can." The man nodded, looked at Lu Yuan, and made a direct quotation. "Mr. Lu, we want this official seal from the Magic Capital Museum." He is the director of the Magic Capital Museum, Lin Guangmin, who came here with Pan Zhongli this time. He knew that besides himself, there were definitely other people who would come. When he saw the scene, there were more people than he imagined. Originally, he thought that he would have to buy at least 7 or 8 pieces. But now, he is a little less confident. The Magic Capital Museum is not bad for money, but how many of those who can come here are poor? In any case, let's collect a few heavyweight cultural relics first. Lu Yuan snorted, and Fang Hai smiled and said, "Don't worry, things haven't been priced yet, why do you want them? Do you want Xiao Lu to hand them over for free?" Lin Guangming cursed inwardly, which pot can't be opened and lifted. With a smile on his face, he said, "What can't be turned in? I am here at the Magic Capital Museum, and I don't do that kind of thing." "Teacher Pan, how much is this official seal worth?" Pan Zhongli shook his head. "Don't ask me about the price, I can't decide." Fang Heidao. "Xiao Li, you belong to the auction house, you give a price." All eyes are focused. Li Huakai smiled slightly, looked at the two men in the crowd, and said, "President Qian, President Li, let's go together." 5. He was not the only one present at the auction house. The two also came here after hearing the inquiry. It's just that when they got to the place, they understood that the treasure in this tomb might not be their turn. Pricing is okay though, and they're willing to sell their face. Guardian Qian said, "There are very few auctions of this kind of official seal, and I have only one impression of it. That auction was an official seal of 1,000 households in the Ming Dynasty, and the transaction price was 51 million. Mr. Li of Sotheby's said, "That was the auction record more than 10 years ago. As long as the official seal appears, it will definitely be popular, and the price will double." Li Huakai said, "If you let me auction here, the starting price will not be lower than 90 million, and I estimate the final transaction price to be 200 million to 300 million. President Qian and President Li nodded, almost. Netizens were stunned. "How much? How much?" "The starting price of 90 million is 200 to 300 million for Mao." "Did I miss something?" "The starting price is the starting price, and the transaction price is the transaction price. I've also seen auctions start at 5 million and sell for 100 million. If the official seal is auctioned, 2 or 300 million yuan may not be able to survive. This kind of cultural relic is already a national treasure, and the price is terrifying. This is the first one, so it's really appropriate to use 100 million as a unit." The official seal of the West factory is such a slap in the face. After the three of them gave a rough price range, the tomb was quiet for 2 seconds. There are quite a few individual buyers at the scene today, but 2 or 3 billion, to be honest, this price is not necessarily affordable for most individual collectors. Even Fang Hai didn't bid the price immediately. It's not that he can't afford it, it's that he's not interested. No matter how precious and precious. Isn't that the seal of the eunuch of the West factory? He buys things for a liking instead of selling them for appreciation. 200 million, I want it. Lin Guangming directly quoted. As soon as the voice fell, there was another humane voice. 201 million, our Hanwu City Museum wants it. Li Botao said. 202 million, I want it. People kept making bids, and Lu Yuan glanced at them. All the bids were from museums, and none of the individual collectors said anything. Not only no, but many people are on the phone. Lu Yuan noticed that the callers were all in their 30s. He listened carefully and heard what these people were saying into the phone. The main idea is to report the auction situation here. Lu Yuan suddenly realized, these are not individual buyers, but representatives of individual buyers. Kind of like a consignor at an auction. On-site telephone contact with the boss decides to buy or not. Lu Yuan couldn't help laughing. This one from the Wild Mountains also played this way. The price increase is too small, it's a museum anyway, it's cool. Just because it is a museum, the price increase is small. If it is Boss Fang, it will directly increase the price by 10 million. Why doesn't Boss Fang ask for a price? Is it too expensive? Maybe you don't like it. It's boring without Boss Fang to join in. At this time, someone had finished the call. 250 million. A man said this sentence with a smile. The scene was quiet for 2 seconds, and a group of museum curators looked over and immediately increased the price. 2.5112 years, 2.521 Z. At this time, another person made an offer. 2.61 Z, 2.611 Z. There are more and more people making bids at one time. Fang Hai crossed his arms and watched happily. Lao Yang, Lao Yuan, don't you two buy it? Eunuch stuff, not interested. What does it mean to print? The three were not interested in official seals. 300 million. Lin Guangmin's voice was much higher. Those clients whispered to the other end of the mobile phone. The Magic Capital Museum is asking for 300 million yuan. Boss, do you want to follow it? Let it go to him. For a long time, no one followed up, and Lin Guangming breathed a sigh of relief. 300 million, this is his psychological highest price for this official seal. If someone continues to raise the price, he just wants to include the official seal in the museum, but he has no choice. He looked at Lu Yuan. Mr. Lu, how about 300 million? Lu Yuan nodded calmly. Deal. The heart is secretly shocked. For the treasure of the entire ancient tomb, the price given by the system is 500 million. This is the first cultural relic that sold for 300 million. The value of all the cultural relics added together is not likely to exceed double the system estimate. Maybe more than that. 300 million. Let me go. Will Lao Lu continue to dig in the future? You're still digging a fart. Isn't the tender model of the retirement club not fragrant? The live broadcast rooms of the two foreign countries were not so excited. Only 300 million, is that a lot? Yeah, it doesn't feel like much. The official seal in ancient times is only 300 million, I think it is very cheap. Is there a possibility that it is 300 million soft sister coins, or else you can convert the national currency? The live room was silent for a few seconds. A lot of money. God, why is an official seal so expensive? This anchor has made a lot of money. After converting the currencies, netizens in both countries went crazy. Mr. Lu, are these military books true? Someone suddenly asked. Lu Haisheng nodded. It's true, but it's all transcribed. The man nodded and looked at the three of Li Huakai. 3, set a price. Li Huakai said. The price of the copied military book is not high, about 100,000 per copy. Lu Haisheng said. There are 83 copies here. The man said. Mr. Lu, how about these military books, 8.5 million? 9 million, I want it. Fang Hai said. Just as Lao Yuan was about to speak, Fang Hai said, don't argue with me, the three of us will pay out the money together, and then we will share a little bit of money. The two stopped talking. The military book is not a valuable thing, but they think it is more compelling. Lin Guangmin, who just won the official seal, said, 10 million. Li Bodao didn't let it either, 11 million. Hanwu City Museum joined in the fun, 12 million. Seeing that the price was soaring, Fang Heidao said, 20 million. Several museums frowned. Although they use the money of the museum, it does not mean that they can make any price. Every cultural relic here has a fixed price in their hearts. Li Bodao thought for a moment and said, Mr. Fang, keep a little bit. There are 83 copies here, how about 10 copies for our museum? The eyes of other museums lit up. Our museum also needs 10 copies. I want 10 copies too. Give me 10 too. Fang Hai said with a black face. There are only 83 books in total, is that enough for you to share? 30 books, he said. I want 30 copies, and this is for the three of us. You can share the rest yourself. If you don't agree, then don't divide them. I'll pack them all at once. Several museums thought about it and said, okay, then remove 30 copies, and we will share the rest. I want 20 copies. An old man in his 50s suddenly said. Everyone looked at him, and the old man said, I'm here to buy it on behalf of the National Library. Everyone. MMP. You are too much. People from the National Library are here. It's a fart. People belong to the National Library, and it is reasonable to spend money to buy ancient military books. At this time, anyone who jumps out and grabs them will be scolded to death online. But after these 20 books were divided, only 33 books remained. There are 7 museums that came here today, and one can only have less than 4 books. Let's divide. Li Bodao sighed. 3 or 4 or 3 or 4, it is better than none at all. In the end, Fang Hai and the 3 asked for 30 copies, the National Library asked for 20 copies, and the rest were divided among the 7 museums. At this time, Fang Hai said, look at the chicken pot cup. Fang Hai and the others were most interested in the chicken pot cup and the 2 big blue and white flowers. As for other things, it is just to join in the fun. Yes, look at the chicken pot cup. Mr. Li, how much is a chicken pot now? Others have also focused on the chicken pot cup. This cup is also a national treasure level cultural relic. Li Huakai said, the value of chicken pot cups is relatively clear. At present, there are no more than 20 cups in existence. Before today, there were only 3 in circulation and auction in the market. 5. I think everyone has checked the previous auction records before coming. The most recent auction was the 14-year auction. If I remember correctly, that auction was undertaken by President Qian. Mr. Qian nodded and said, that auction was undertaken by us. The transaction price was 280 million. Mr. Liu from Hong Kong Island bought it. Li Huakai said, but it has been 14 years. There are few chicken pots in the world, and the price only goes up and not down. Now the value is only high but not low. I personally estimate that the starting price is 100 million, and the transaction price is estimated to be 350 million, about. Mr. Qian and Mr. Li more agree with this price. In the auction business, which cultural relics are more popular and which are unpopular, they belong to Chinger. It is no exaggeration to say that once an auction house wants to auction the chicken pot, there is no need to publicize it, and the auction of the day will welcome powerful people from all over the world. 350 million. This thing is more expensive than the official seal. Is it an exaggeration? It's an exaggeration. There is a transaction record, and there are no more than 20 in the world, it's really not expensive. These are only 2 cultural relics, and there are 6 or 7 billion. Lao Lu is estimated to be on the Forbes list next year. If you think about it too much, you won't be worth it. The Forbes youth list shouldn't be a problem. If Lao Lu can give me the chicken pot cup, I will be able to move the dragon country steadily next year. When the price came out, Fang Hai directly quoted, 350 million. Lao Yang and Lao Yuan didn't make an offer, and the 3 of them had already made a private agreement to buy it together. Otherwise, as long as 3 people appear together, don't think about who can buy it alone. 3.511Z, 3.521Z, 3.531Z. Just listen to the price, don't have to go to see, everyone knows that the price must be those museums. 3.571Z. All the museums took turns to report, and the client who came on behalf of the boss reported in real time, and also participated in the quotation at this moment. 360 million. 3.611Z. Lao Yuan shook his head. This price increase is like a joke. Lao Feng, hurry up, don't waste time. Fang Hai snorted and said, 400 million. The cemetery was quiet. Those clients communicated on the phone in a low voice, but did not continue to make an offer. Those museum curators looked bitter. Anyone can see that Fang Hai and the three are determined to win this chicken pot. Add tens of millions directly, who can stand it? Fang Hai didn't say anything to give me a face. The $1 million price increase at every turn gave him face, but it was Lu Yuan who lost. He and Lu Yuan are not a one-shot deal, and he doesn't want to be ugly in this regard. Not to mention tens of millions, to him it was nothing more than a string of numbers. Seeing that he was so determined to win, everyone knew that it would be impossible to win if he increased the price. Instead of offending him, it was better to sell him a face. It's just a pity that this chicken pot cup can be placed anywhere except a few museums, and it can be regarded as the treasure of the town hall, a real national treasure-level cultural relic. Too bad I can't get it. Fang Hai swept around and looked at Lu Yuan. Xiao Lu, 400 million, how about it? How can I? You took money to spank my ass, I must be obediently pouting to let you do it. As Lu Yuan nodded, Fang Hai and the others felt much more relaxed. 400 million, numb. Tired, destroy it. Seeing him digging for meteorites, seeing him digging wild ginseng, seeing how many small goals he has a day. On the contrary, netizens were not as excited as before, they were numb, really numb. On the contrary, Sakura Country and Cold Country, the live broadcast room online has exceeded 1 million, and a group of netizens screamed after the exchange rate conversion. Lao Yuan smiled and said, Little Li, look at that cricket jar, it's pretty good, I'll keep a cricket for fun later. Everyone looked at him strangely. This is a cultural relic, why do you really raise crickets? How rich does it have to be so self-willed? We are afraid that the crickets live as well. When a group of museums heard this, their hearts sank. If you can't grab the chicken pot cup, it doesn't matter, the cricket jar must be taken down. There are many cultural relics in the tomb, but there are actually only a few. If you really want to spread it evenly, it will not be enough for everyone here. They have only bought a few books of war, and this thing can only be enjoyed, and its value is far inferior to these porcelains. Although the cricket jar is for raising crickets, its preciousness is no worse than that of the chicken pot. Just as Li Huakai was about to speak, Li Botao said first, Yingtian Museum just lacks a cricket jar, 25 million, how about Xiaolu? Li Huakai's eyes are weird, I haven't made an offer yet. His voice just fell, and the Magic Capital Museum said, 30 million. Another museum said, 32 million. 40 million. Come on, you guys continue to increase the price. The Magic Capital Museum Lin Guangmin has a stance that he must fight to the end. There are only so many things, I have to win one today. This one is left to me, and I will not participate in the other. Li Botao said, Me too, there is one, I will not participate in the other, 45 million. How come these old men have changed? Is the price increase so cruel? I was so stingy before. No matter how stingy you are, you won't be able to grab one. The three Lao Yuan also looked puzzled, what is going on? Fang Hai looked at Li Huakai. Little Li, how much is this cricket jar? Just as Li Huakai was about to speak, the 7 museums suddenly looked at him in unison, and the murderous aura in his eyes made him shiver. President Qian and President Li watch their noses and hearts, and stay out of the way. The 3 Fang Hai raised their brows. They knew about cultural relics, but they were far less familiar than these museums. Originally thought it was an ordinary cricket jar, but no matter how sluggish it was wrong. How can ordinary jars be so scrambled? And with those murderous eyes, who are you threatening? Little Li, talk about it. Cough cough. Li Huakai ignored the eyes of these old men and said, This is quite expensive. How expensive is it? This. Li Huakai pondered for a long time, but did not directly say the price, but spared a bend. Cricket jars are relatively rare. How many? Li Huakai said. There is no Longguo National Museum, there is no Wanbei Palace Museum, but there is one in the Beijing Palace Museum, but that one is uncovered. As soon as these words came out, everyone reacted, and then looked at the eyes of the cricket pot, which were hot and hot. This is more than rare, it is simply rare, Li Huakai said. In addition, this is a cricket jar from the Schwandafischl kiln, and it is the best quality utensil in the Schwandafischl kiln. Any museum is a treasure-level cultural relic. 5. It doesn't matter to him anymore, he has opened his mouth, and he can just say it all at once, and he can also sell a few people's favors. As for these museums, there is no need to deal with them anyway. After he finished speaking, the curators of the 7 museums had a dark face. Treasure of the town hall. In the cemetery, many people's eyes lit up. Looking at these curators again, their eyes are full of resentment. Bad old man, each one is so bad, he even wanted to take it down silently. This level of cultural relics, 30 to 40 million to take down, is simply a joke. This is a cultural relic that can be touched with a chicken pot. Do you want to pick up leeks in front of me? Little Li, estimate the price of this cricket jar. There is no auction record, not very good estimate. Then set a starting price. 50 million. Fang Hai looked at the other two, and the two could no longer pretend to be ignorant. He nodded and said, it's about 50 million. Lao Yuan snorted and looked at the curators. Everyone, is it too much? The stuff belongs to Xiao Lu, isn't it too careless to play like this in front of him? If you want to buy it, just take real money, if you can't get it out, watch it. After finishing speaking, he directly quoted, 50 million. He directly quoted a starting price. If someone follows, he will continue to add, and if no one follows, he will bid the price. Although there is suspicion of smuggling, the price is estimated by the auction house, and everything is on the bright side. It's not like these old men, one by one, hide and tuck, and wilt. Li Botao coughed. 51 million. Lin Guangmin said, 55 million. They didn't explain anything. Anyway, things must be taken down, even if Lao Yuan and several others were involved. Those clients have already contacted the boss, and they are also bidding at this moment. Soon, the asking price has exceeded 100 million. Lao Yuan did not bid any more during the period. Seeing that the price increase was getting smaller and smaller, he knew that they had reached their limit, so he directly gave a price, 150 million. However, to his surprise, Li Botao didn't even think about increasing the price, 160 million. Lao Yuan glanced at him in surprise and added 10 million directly. This is not the style of museums. Lin Guangmin said, 170 million. Other museums continue to increase their prices, and they have no intention of stopping. Lao Yuan clicked his tongue twice and said, 180 million. Li Botao, 190 million. After quoting the price, Li Botao said calmly, I said, this cricket jar is a must for the Yingtian Museum. You can add the price as you like, and I will follow it to the end. Lao Yuan thought for a while, but did not continue to follow. He began to think that this thing was only 20 to 30 million, but it turned out to be 10 times more. Buy is able to buy, but the value of this thing is too much beyond his expectations. And looking at the posture of these museums, if you continue to add it, I am afraid that it will not exceed the chicken pot cup. The other museums frowned for a long time, and finally Lin Guangmin said, Carrier Li, I bought the cricket jar, can I borrow it from our museum to display it for a while? Li Botao nodded. Of course, there is no problem with what I said. Lin Guangmin hummed, stopped talking, and did not continue to increase the price. Another museum said, Director Li, are you sure you won't buy the cultural relics in the back? Li Botao patted his chest and said, the man speaks with all his might, one spit and one pit. They don't increase the price either. Li Botao's heart is mad, 190 million, much less than he expected. He looked at Lu Yuan, and although he wanted to settle down immediately, he still kept a calm smile. Mr. Lu, 190 million, how about it? No problem. Lu Yuan was shocked. A jar of crickets can be sold for this price. He was not surprised by the official seal and the chicken pot, but he really couldn't understand the cricket jar. He didn't understand. Li Huakai and the 7 museums present knew the value of this cricket jar. It was too rare, and it's still a cricket jar with a lid, and its integrity is 100%. It's only a mile away from a national treasure level cultural relic. If the Yingtian Museum can win it, it's a proper treasure of the town hall. Xiao Li, look at this big blue and white flower. After Fang Hai finished speaking, what came to his mind, he glanced at Li Botao and the others, and added, before the auction house estimates the price, don't rush to bid. A trace of embarrassment flashed on the faces of several old men, but no one responded. I wanted to pick one up. It was leaked, but the result was not found. Li Huakai and the three discussed and finally said, this blue and white porcelain vase is a rare masterpiece. At present, there are 7 large objects similar to the Ming dynasty in the auction records. Estimated, our suggested starting price is 56 million. Fang Heidao, 60 million. A new round of price increases has begun. Except for Li Botao, the other 6 museums are determined to win. The same is true for Fang Hai. He likes porcelain, especially Ming blue and white. If this is Qing dynasty porcelain, he wouldn't even come. Without it, he would not like the porcelain of the Qing dynasty. 5 minutes later, the price of this vase has exceeded 100 million. I have witnessed history. I thought the official seal was the pinnacle, but I didn't expect it. Think. 5 cultural relics, 4 worth over 100 million yuan. Lao Lu, take a few home and donate them. Be careful, Lao Lu will give you a kick. In the end, this big blue and white piece was won by Fang Haiyi at a sky-high price of 140 million yuan. A group of old men looked at him with resentment in their eyes. Those clients were also a little helpless. They haven't won anything yet. The willingness to buy this is not as good as Fang Hai and others who came in person. They have a price in their hearts. Once it exceeds this price, they will give up. Not to mention, in addition to Fang Hai and a few others, there are 7 museums. No, unexpectedly, the buyers who came from these clients may have to return without success. Coloring landscape map, 20 million. Li Huakai gave the price. This painting is the same as the one on the market, saying it is fake, but the inscription is real. If he is real, the painting is fake. Even if it is fake, it is true. It was indeed collected by the emperor back then and rewarded to Wang Ji later. That one on the market was offered for 30 million, but it was eventually passed in. The auction house is actually very confident in it, but the market is cold. People made bids. The museum did not come out, and neither did Fang Hai and others. Those clients called and did not make any bids. For a time, the atmosphere of the cemetery was a bit awkward. At this time, the representative of the National Library, the mobile phone rang. He glanced at the call and was a little surprised. Hey, Lao Zhang, EH. Are you sure you want it? This picture. It's not genuine. Okay, I see, you can tell Mr. Liu yourself. He walked up to Liu Yuan. Mr. Liu, the Longguo Academy of Fine Arts is very interested in this painting, and they want to have a phone call with you. Liu Yuan answered. Hello. Hello Mr. Liu, my surname is Zhang, this painting costs 20 million, and our college wants it. Okay, Liu Yuan is also refreshing, the system estimate is 20 million, and the auction house's price is also 20 million. This price is actually not high, and I really want to put it up for auction. If it is too high, I dare not say that 30 million can be sold. But Liu Yuan was too lazy to waste that effort, not to mention deducting commissions, not necessarily much. Since someone is willing to ask, if the price is reached, then sell it. Returning the phone, Liu Yuan said, someone wants this painting. Everyone nodded, they were not very interested. Li Botao said, Mr. Li, take a look at the golden books and iron coupons. This time, all the 7 museums came to the spirit, and Li Botao was a little uncomfortable. But he said that after he bought a can of crickets, he would not sell them. Fang Hai and the others were not interested. This is Li Shanchang's death-free gold medal, which was once held by a person who was copied all over the place. Just like the pagoda, a eunuch used to put a few handfuls, no matter how good it was, they were not interested. As a result, this golden book and iron coupon has become the focus of competition among 6 museums and several other individual sellers. Those clients also shouted the price several times during the process. In the end, the Magic Capital Museum won this national treasure-level cultural relic at a sky-high price of 370 million. The auction continued until the night became darker, and finally at 8 o'clock in the evening, the auction of all cultural relics except the ancient wines of the Ming dynasty ended. Hu Guangyao said, Mr. Li, please evaluate the value of these ancient wines. At this time, above the tomb, the sound of the helicopter's propeller, boom boom boom, sounded again. Everyone looked up, and someone smiled and said, it's a bit late at this point. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.